Previously on AFTN.
BC Soccer Web Headlines is brought to you in partnership with bcsoccerweb.com.
Are you...
Am I fault?
Is that Pee Wee Herdman there?
I was trying to floss.
Oh.
I'm not very good at it.
No, that's not a floss.
Are you talking about the backpack dance?
I don't know.
He's trying to floss like he's got a towel.
Yeah, between the...
Yeah.
Is that not what it is?
No, that's not.
It's totally wrong.
Please stop doing that. You're making Steve uncomfortable.
Oh.
No, it's fine.
Let Steve play the music again so I can do a proper introduction. Guten Tag, meine Damen und Herren, und willkommen to episode 1100. Episode 311 of the AFTN Soccer Show. I was doing so well, my high school German was coming back to me there, but let me down slightly towards the end. Yes, it's another episode of There's Still Time, the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio, 101.9 FM, broadcasting from the unceded Musqueam Territory at the University of beautiful British Columbia. I am Michael McCall.
I'm Steve Pander.
And I'm Zachary Adam Eisenhower.
You always take a big breath before you say your name. Is it because you're not sure who you are? Is this a
so
fake
long.
persona?
It's
Is that
so
your
long.
real name?
No, it's not.
It is your real name, okay.
Yeah.
Lots to talk about, even though it's still the off-season.
Yeah.
Our shows are still packed, despite me thinking at the start of the week, we're not going to have a lot to talk about. But then it turns out we do have tons to talk about. There's going to be lots of Whitecaps chat, MLS chat, Canadian men's national team chat, and a lot more besides. Because there's been a couple of press conferences and announcements here in Vancouver this week, which, when we do the show on a Sunday, we never know what the week ahead is going to bring. But it's been a busy, busy week. Part one, we'll have some Whitecaps news of the week and a little bit of chat just about the Whitecaps in general. The Marc Dos Santos rebuild has now officially begun. We now have 17 signed players on the Whitecaps roster for next season, after 7 options were picked up. Not expecting all 17 of them to make it through to first kick. Will they even make it through to training camp? We'll soon see. Options picked up include the likes of Jordi Reyna and Daniil Henry. Maybe not big surprises, but were there any surprises in the options that were picked up for you, Zach?
No, I'm not hugely surprised that anyone was picked up, but I agree with you that I don't think all 17 of those players, aside from Kendall even, I don't think all 17 of those will be around come preseason training, let alone first kick.
There was one surprise for me, I'd probably say, Nicholas Mosqueda. I thought that he has kind of reached... I thought they would really go after central midfield and kind of improve that.
Yeah.
And I thought he had kind of reached his top level. But then I was thinking about it, and I'll give you a reason why I think he might stay if he doesn't get traded away, is he might be in for a different position. If they play a 4-3-3 and those wingers are a little tighter to the striker, he could be one of those guys with Jordi Reyna. Instead of playing central midfield, he could be playing like a winger position, maybe off the bench or something like that, not like really as a starter.
Plus, I got to sit down with a few of the supporters this week and listen to Marc Dos Santos talk about what he likes in players.
He had a meeting with the supporters on Tuesday.
A few, yeah.
But you can't talk about it.
No, we can talk.
Okay.
Well, people have been talking about it, so we might as
even
well,
better than
we might as well talk about it. But one of the things I got out of that was that I think Mosqueda is the type of player that he will want in his squad. Like just his aggressiveness, his work rate, all those kinds of things. I think
not had enough aggressiveness in the Whitecaps squad.
I think
aggressive.
you're talking about a different kind
controlled,
of aggressiveness.
Oh, okay.
controlled
aggression.
aggressive.
Yeah, that's a good way, Steve. So I think that he will. I think that he could fit in really well with what MDS wants to do.
Interesting, because when they picked his option up, my initial thought was, a trade possibility. Same with Eric
never know.
Hurtado, I kind of thought was maybe a trade, but he is cheap and can get the business done. Someone that you can rely upon if you're desperate for a striker to go in there.
Again, Eric, I think he could in a different setup and a different approach. You never know.
He
Plus,
could thrive,
yeah, he could thrive. Plus, again,
and he showed a lot better control this year than previous years.
And he's again not on a crazy wage,
No.
and we don't know what his option is for sure. But
True.
We don't think it's a crazy ticket. And will he be the number one striker for the Whitecaps? No, it's highly unlikely.
Phew.
So the one thing about Mosqueda is that there were rumors or like people were kind of talking about that he might be arranging something for himself in Europe or somewhere in Scandinavia.
But I talked to him about that, and he said
it never happened. It never was going to happen.
Yeah, he was linked to Scandinavia. He was linked to Romania.
there was like a.
Just kind of talking.
There was interest in him, but there was
gotcha.
never no done deal, nothing close.
Oh, nothing close. Okay, gotcha. Well, so the thing is and it seems like that when Dos Santos talked about who he was picking up, and he wanted people that wanted to be here. So I'm thinking if he talked to Nicholas Mosqueda wants to be here, and I think then that's maybe a good fit.
True. It's maybe perhaps though a better indication of what kind of route Dos Santos is going on in building his squad and the players whose options weren't picked up. You've got the likes of Stefan Marinovic have gone, Ali Gonzalez gone, Jose Aja, Breck Shea is finally gone.
I've heard differing things on whether or not he actually had an option for this.
I thought you were going to say whether he has gone.
No.
You had me really worried there. I didn't know how that sentence was ending.
I've heard at least one person say that they were pretty confident that there was no option for Breck Shea.
That would maybe make sense.
But it's not like they would make a mistake on Breck Shea's options.
No, 5 others gone as well, including the likes of Aaron Mond, and then 4 players out of contract.
That was actually surprising. I really thought.
So again,
but it could be just his salary was just too high for what
the
they
option
wanted.
maybe was
from the horse's mouth. Marinovic basically what he said.
Who's the horse?
MDS.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
You got to name the horse sometimes.
The Marinovic thing, the Marinovic option being declined, he basically said is one of the key things, which you've said a number of times in the past, or maybe both of you have, is they don't want to use an international spot on a keeper.
Yeah.
And they feel that they can get just as good or a better option for similar value that is domestic.
And we don't
totally.
And remember, people have to remember too that the option for all these players may not be what they're being paid last year.
Oh yeah,
Well,
it could be much higher.
Typically,
a lot of them probably will be.
Yeah,
I think around. I've heard this from at least one person in the past. Typically, in other parts of the world, you start high and options kind of decrease.
Yeah.
MLS, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
You start low and it goes up.
And well, it's essentially an incentive. If the player is deemed to be that value for that next year's option, they will pick it up.
Yeah.
If it's too high and they don't see the value in it, then you get released. Then you're free to go basically wherever you want.
Yeah, and we're going to have a look at other clubs, some of their options in the defensive category this week in part 2.
Aaron Mon specifically, that was the other one. He was asked specifically about, like, he seems like a reliable player. Do you not see him even as a depth player to keep on? And his response is he feels they can do better at that position.
Interesting. There's a lot of centre-backs up, which we will come to in part 2. We've got 4 players out of contract as well. Kai Kamara, Christian Teixeira, who his Instagram post basically
it was
confirmed
his goodbye.
he's away. Sean Franklin, Brian Rowe, who could still come back if they are needing an experienced backup keeper. Kai Kamara is looking probably less and less likely, I feel. His comments, Marc Dos Santos' comments on Monday, was that whether Kamara is the guy back or not, the Whitecaps will have the right striker in place for the season. So
he echoed that on Tuesday.
Yeah, you have to wonder whether Kai fits in the kind of thing he wants to play.
He was asked, and he spoke of some of his qualities and what a good player he is and has been and whatever, but it's more of a sense that, the sense I get is nothing was said definitive, but the sense is that I think they're going to go a different route.
I mean, Kamara fitted Robbo's big target guy.
Yeah.
And just as soon as we finally get the big target guy, our crossing this year was crap.
Yeah,
To not fully get advantage of it. But he did well. He did his second best ever season.
It seems like the system he talks about, like he always mentions Liverpool and he mentions Napoli.
Last year.
They kind of have, don't they have like a rotating striker where nobody's a real striker, but everybody can be striker, like the top three especially? Isn't that the way they play, kind of?
Liverpool's kind of got their set strikers. Maybe he's going to be like Klopp and running the pitch after goals.
Well, he mentioned that in an interview too, that he kind of sees his image as him.
Yeah, let's hope he doesn't run in the pitch. I think the moves, though, they've clearly left us needing strengthened in specific areas. We're clearly needing 2, maybe even 3 goalkeepers, because he did talk about having 3 or 4 goalkeepers. Badly needing some centre-backs, because right now we've got Daniil Henry, and that is it. So Kendall, I guess officially we have, but no one's expecting Kendall back. So you've got Daniil Henry as your centre-back, a right-back if Franklin's not back, wingers, forward.
Like multiple wingers.
Yeah.
He spoke on Tuesday specifically about right-back and said that he has in mind or in plans, or maybe has already been in his short period of being a Whitecap, has already begun to set things up for that, and he spoke of a very attacking option at right back.
Interesting.
And so there's a right back coming in, and it sounds like left back might also might see upgrading as well.
I see, that's interesting, because when I was looking through all the options, I didn't look at left back, because I thought you're probably going, well, from anyone that's free just now, there's no one that you would want to probably replace De Jong or Levi's with. Obviously, there's other things you can do for players that are currently under contract.
Also, he also spoke of that it doesn't mean that De Jong and Levi's wouldn't be a part of things.
Yeah.
Because they are players who can play
They
at
can
other
play
places.
left wing as well, yeah. So that's an interesting one.
A couple of positions you left out of this is, you have mentioned, is the central midfield. And I think he should be going for a number 10 and a box-to-box. Those 2 starting positions need to be addressed.
Yeah.
Because I don't see a starter right now.
Our box-to-box is definitely lacking now. And our number 10's been lacking for years.
That's why I feel like Reina can play that winger position in his 4-3-3.
It's whether he maybe sees Felipe as that number 10.
It's possible, but maybe a backup for Felipe and then bring in
I
a
know
DP.
a lot of folk would prefer a better option than Felipe in there.
And he mentioned too that he's going to have to gauge whether the winter transfer window is the best time to get those DPs or wait till the summer.
Well, he has also said when we spoke to him as well, don't expect everything to get done right away.
Yeah.
It's like this is more than one transfer window that you're talking about to build
but
the squad.
Not long term.
No.
Yeah, he told you guys short to medium term. But the one thing I liked about that part of the interview is he also wasn't going to, or he also said up front, I'm not going to hide behind that. Like if I do badly, I'm not going to say, oh, it's because I can't get everything done right. I want to right away.
Yeah. Now, just going back to the goalkeeper situation, he made comments about Marinovic to the supporters, as you mentioned, about the international spot. He also talked about
on the website too. On the Whitecap site,
outweighing the weaknesses and the strengths of him. And I think the general feeling is you can get better than Stefan Marinovic for that price, and you
as a domestic,
you honestly can. Yeah,
as a domestic too. Yeah.
If you look at a lot of the goalkeeping stats for this year, I know Marinovic was out injured, but Marinovic was down the bottom. Admittedly, the defence in front of him probably didn't help, and there were some big names down there, which we'll come to in part 2. Spencer Ritchie, though, his option was not picked up, which was something of a surprise. In some ways, Spencer did say that he only wanted to be here if he had a real shot of being the starting goalkeeper.
And if he mentioned that to Dos Santos, then maybe that's the reason the option wasn't picked up.
I mean, is it a case of the Whitecaps being nice and saying, look, we'll let you just go and explore your own options? Or could they not have picked his option up and at least maybe look to trade him to Cincinnati?
We don't know if they already talked to somebody in Cincinnati and they said, no, we're not really going to offer anything.
That was my thought too, Steve.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any validity to that, but that's my thought.
If they weren't going to take him.
Because Cincinnati knows that Vancouver is not going to protect him in the thing. So, and like I said, maybe if Richie told you that he wants to be number one, and he's going to tell Dos Santos that if he told you that, and Dos Santos says, no, you're not number one, he's going to release him.
He also said he'd only go to Cincinnati if he had a real shot of being number one as well.
Yeah.
And at his age, he needs to be a starting keeper, and he's done well in USL, so that may be where Spencer ends up. good luck to wherever he ends up. Always liked Spencer Ritchie since he came here from Washington.
I think a keeper at the USL level, you're better off being a starting keeper there instead of being a backup in the MLS. If you're a young keeper, 25, there's no point in being a backup.
Make your name for yourself.
Yeah, you might not make as much, but you're still progressing in your game, so eventually you can make that much.
Couple of players whose options weren't picked up: Marvin Emnes and Rodriguez. Who?
That's just a waste of space to even mention.
I know. Well,
you can
the
edit
thing
this out
is,
afterwards.
It's a couple of busts you could look at, but at the same time, they didn't really cost the Caps much to have a look at him.
Yeah.
It kind of maybe highlighted though some poor recruitment, that you bring players in that aren't fit.
Well,
We've done that with so many players that are just not fit.
No, Emnes was fit. He got injured.
He got injured here, but he hadn't played.
Yeah, long time.
Well, he wasn't fit. No. He hadn't played.
Right.
So
he wasn't match fit.
He wasn't match fit.
Wasn't Emnes like a friend of Kamara's or a former teammate of Kamara's?
Former teammate,
so maybe that was just basically on a suggestion that maybe this guy's free, he can do something.
But I mean,
our recruitment just has to be better. You have to get players that are ready to come in.
This is maybe a longer conversation for another time. But those guys were brought in, but the Whitecaps did not bring in any players of substance that they could have brought in the summer this year. But that's
because they're probably knowing there's a managerial change, and you don't want to lumber a manager with a player that he might not want.
Or you don't want to outgo the manager you're not bringing back to have success. So then it's harder to not bring him back.
That could be either way.
That's the conspiracy way of looking at it. Yes. So I mean, there's certainly a big hole in the defence, but we knew that from watching 34 matches over the course of the season. Also, possibly a hole in the defensive midfield role, as Steve talked about as well. But one player who definitely will be back is Russell Teibert. Russell back in Vancouver on Monday to announce the Canadian national team Nations League game that's coming up in March. And we're going to come to Canada in part 4. But got to speak to Russell a little bit just about Whitecaps and some other stuff at that presser. Here's what he had to say. What's your off-season going to be looking like now? It's a short one for you.
So right after the camp in St. Kitts, I went home to get some home-cooked food, and I stayed home for about 3-4 days. But I just came from the gym this morning, so I'm in an off-season program right now. We'll continue to do that until December 16th. Take a little break, go back home to Niagara Falls again for my birthday, for some home-cooked food, for Christmas, and then it's back out early January.
You've obviously had a chance now to speak to Marc Dos Santos. What's the feeling like at the club, or for you personally? How excited are you for next year?
Super excited. The conversation that Marc and I had was very brief. It was just, hello, how are you? And he was doing a tour of the facility, and I just happened to be there with Daniil working out. So hopefully plan to meet up with him at some point this week or before I head back for the off-season in Niagara Falls. But again, super excited and can't wait to be a part of it.
Today he said that he has to break down the team to build it back up. Do you find that it's going to be a challenging season next year, or what are you kind of expecting out of the next year with all that all the contract options you saw today?
Well, I haven't seen it yet. I was in, like I said, I just came from the gym, but thank you. Yeah, I was going to ask you guys, am I still here? I haven't seen it yet, but a couple people around the facility were talking to me about it, and again, I don't know enough about the list because I haven't seen it. But we all know or knew that there were going to be changes. I'm happy to be here, and I trust what Marc is going to do. I trust, the club as a whole, that they're bringing in the right people, and that we're going to get back on track.
The end of season pressers, obviously, you were the first to speak, and then it kind of escalated very quickly after that. Have you had a chat with any of the guys since then about how next year's going to be, a clean slate, stuff like that?
The way the season ended with all the media and all the press, there was a lot of things that were aired out. But you look at where we are now and where the club is going. We got to live in the moment. We got to live in the present time. That's already in the past, and I haven't had a chance to speak to many guys because it was the exit meetings, and guys went to different places right after. But I think the common theme that everybody has, underlying tone of everybody's message, is that they want the club to do well. We want to do well as individuals, and together, if we're pushing in the same direction, we'll achieve that.
Rusty Teibert there, just talking about some Whitecap stuff. So it's maybe going to be a little bit interesting for Rusty when pre-season camp does get underway. I like that things were brought up in the post-season press conference, but has he maybe made a rod for his own back with it?
Oh, absolutely. We talked about this before.
Yeah, well, we need to have some clear the air chats.
Oh, yeah, there will be some difficult conversations, I think.
Yeah, there definitely going to be players that didn't appreciate it. Even players that might have agreed with him, but still didn't appreciate the fact that he went public with it that harshly. But then,
hopefully they sort it all out. I'm pretty sure that if there's any issues, Marc Dos Santos will nip those in the bud right away. I've liked a lot of what Marc said so far. And on Monday when he was talking about the player releases and interviews that he's done, some of the stuff that I liked, he talked a lot about intensity, wanting intense players. And he said he plans to be very active in the... I don't know if he picked the question up right, if he meant the MLS trade window, which is next Sunday, or if he just meant the whole MLS mechanisms that's coming up over the next few weeks, and we'll look at some of that in the next part. But he talked about his management style and how intense he can be, which tied in what we've been told by folk that's worked with him or under him and stuff, that he is very intense and he's a hard taskmaster. And we talked about this, I feel that is what the club are needing just now. But he said he's not intense on the touchline to the extent of constantly badgering the fourth official.
Yeah, he said he doesn't want to bother the fourth official. Yeah, no. He doesn't want to bother the fourth official, but he does get intense on the... He said he doesn't realize if there's a box for him to stand in or whatever.
The technical area?
Yeah, the technical area.
I could see him being so intense.
Well, do you not remember?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, from the times that we've seen him before,
Swan guard,
but yeah. He's such a nice guy to speak to.
Yeah.
But on the touchline, you feel he's just like this powder keg that's just waiting to go off sometimes, which...
He's passionate about what he does. He's passionate about football.
Which is great.
Yeah.
And I mean, from I don't know how much you can say about what he told the supporters on Tuesday, but how did you come away from that meeting feeling, or how did other supporters come away from that meeting feeling?
Yeah, I think, well, it's funny, like, there was a few of the people from RCB, it was funny, because RCB, like, usually when these meetings happen, there's, like, maybe one or, like, none of them. They had, like, 5 people show up to the meeting and were really excited, and they actually expressed some really great things and asked some really great questions, and then there was 4 people from the south side, and we had 4 or 5 people there. I think most people came away feeling positive. I mean, for a few of us, there still is this, for some people there's not, but for a few of us, there still is this, like halo of the 6-1 that follows him around. And he talked about that, so that was good to hear his perspective. And that was really helpful. And he shared some sincere thoughts about that and reflections on that. And expressed an understanding of things. I did out you a bit. Shoot, I forgot to tell you this before.
Thanks.
No, sorry. One of the things he said was, he's like, one of the first things, other than meeting Pedram, he really wants to meet Pedram.
First of all, Zach, it should be somebody's choice to get out. It'll be, outed.
I know.
Sorry, but yeah, I know. But, well, actually, this is on social media, so it's not that big of a...
Oh.
But, no, you're not wondering.
I'm wondering where this is going now.
So one of the things he said, other than wanting to meet Pedram really bad, because he had a lot of...
abuse.
Let's call them, I was going to say encounters.
Run-ins.
Pedram used to sit by the tunnel at Swan Guard, so he used to express his support for the Whitecaps to the opposing coaches and teams. And so in a positive way, he wanted to meet Pedram. He's like, is this guy still around? We're like, oh, yeah. It was funny. Anyways,
essentially, he needed content warnings before.
Yeah. So, but no, he's one of the things he said was, he's like, one of the first things I want to do is I want to get rid of that Je me souviens banner. And then so we were like, oh, well, that was made, and Massimo was there. We're like, oh, it was made in this guy's basement, and these are a few of the people who are there. And then I said, oh, the Scottish guy you talked to, he was there too, and he's like, oh, really?
Oh,
so I hope I haven't ruined
thanks,
I hope I haven't ruined things for
I remember painting that banner.
But most people came away, I think, feeling very positive. And I think for some people that were in that gathering, and I think the support around the city for the team or whatever, I think a lot of people, what I hear rightly or wrongly. It's subjective, so I don't think you can call it right or wrong. But a lot of people are just looking forward to a different approach. And so I think you're going to get that.
And
whether it works out well or
attacking or exciting football, which I know some folk are wanting. Just before we wrap this section up, since we're talking about supporters and Southsiders and stuff, just want to do a pitch to all the Southsiders that are going to the AGM. Is it next Saturday? I think the 8th?
This Saturday, this coming
Saturday.
Saturday.
This coming Saturday, yeah. We'd like a favour from you. For our Christmas show that's coming up in a couple of weeks, we'd like you to record a song for us.
Don't tell them what the song is. Save that.
Yeah, save that.
Yeah, save that.
Yeah.
Don't ruin that.
Don't ruin it.
I need to tell them what the song is.
You
tell
can let
people
them know.
privately.
You can let them know.
It's like Tifo. Don't tell people what it is before.
Don't
Steve and I heard you sing once already.
Yeah.
Don't make us
Don't-
suffer
don't-
twice.
Okay, I'll get in touch with Peter. In that case, we'll be back after this.
Hi, I'm Marc Dos Santos, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Can you prohibit my Cyclops? Cyclops! Cyclops! Cyclops!
The Yummy Fur and Cyclops. At East 5, we used to have a player that had one eye. He had a glass eye and a proper eye. So his nickname was Cyclops.
Oh, cool.
I
I think you've told us about that. That you used to abuse your own player.
Yeah, no, that was a different one. We've abused a lot of players. There was Dougie McCracken, who we thought was a donkey, so we threw carrots and hay at him. But that's a whole other story that we'll talk about at some point. You are listening to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio, 101.9 FM. Enjoying some samosas that Steve brought along.
Yeah, it's good to go in the lunchroom and have a samosa on the break.
Yeah.
Nice and spicy.
Yeah, it's spicy, but like not overpowering. Like
They're
flavorful.
homemade. It's homemade.
By your mom or your wife?
Both. They both combined to make
Together.
it. Yeah.
That's a beautiful partnership.
Tag team.
Like a good strike partnership.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good tag team.
Yeah.
The fun we have up here at UBC in the unceded Musqueam territory, and the fun's going to continue now, as we're going to try and get some spice into the Whitecaps roster by looking at what MLS options are available, or players that are available. So we know the needs in the areas that we're having to target. We talked about that in part 1. We now know a lot of the players that options have not been picked up, or they're out of contract or whatever, and obviously we don't want too many cast-offs from other clubs, but we do need to have players on the squad with MLS experience. And just because a team hasn't picked up a player's option, it doesn't mean that it's because they're a crap player.
Yeah.
It could be that their option's horrendously high,
Like we talked
or they
about-
want to move in a new direction,
Or
or
like we
they've an improvement lined up.
Like we talked about, remember what was it? Ousted's contract that 1 year was like in the $300,000 range, and then he jumped up to in the $500,000.
Yeah.
and that's why he
And what do you
wasn't
make
picked
this
up.
year? 280?
Essentially, yeah, something like that. But that's an example of we didn't know how much he was going to be paid next year, and that's the reason why he wasn't kept.
So I mean, there's lots of reasons, and for depth players, you do need guys that's got MLS experience. Marc Dos Santos told us a couple of weeks ago when we spoke to him that for him having MLS experience amongst the squad is vital, and he said he's going to be very active in this window. And the trade window comes up next Sunday. Hopefully, stuff will get announced so we can talk about that in next week's show, and they don't keep it all until the Monday, which would be a right pisser. But if you look at the options of the guys, now some of them might end up in the waiver draft, some might end up in the re-entry draft, some might take themselves out of it altogether. You're going to have some free agents.
Isn't there like a re-entry draft? Two couple.
Rianne Wilkinson has an
Don't
entry
mention
draft?
Riri.
No, I forgot about that. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah,
It was sad for her.
very.
Let's start by looking at goalkeepers. So, when we did a few weeks ago some players that would like our fantasy players.
It was last week. Was it last week?
No, it was a
it was
few
2 weeks
weeks
ago.
ago
Oh, yeah,
we
it
did
was
our fantasy
When was
guys.
Joe last year?
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, he's our fantasy guy.
Yeah.
So we highlighted Maxime Crepeau, Montreal keeper, as a guy we might want to go with. Spent the season in the USL. Goalkeeper of the year.
He was just named, this weekend or this week or something like that. Last
a
week.
week or so ago.
Okay.
Now, there's been lots of rumours out there linking him to us. Not sure if we started a
I
lot
think
of
we
those
might have
rumours,
started
but,
some of the rumors.
but there's a lot of rumours linking him now to the club, and they're going to grow arms and legs because Evan Bush just signed a new 3-year deal in Montreal.
Yeah.
So it doesn't sound like he's going anywhere.
That's weird.
He was their defensive MVP, 10 clean sheets in the year.
What's a clean? Oh, okay.
Not ultra clean sheets. You got 10 ultra clean sheets.
There's various
10
levels.
UMO2 clean sheets.
So Bush isn't going anywhere. So Crepeau, if he stays there, is going to have a tough job unseating him, but he could. But also, like Montreal picked up Crepeau's option, as well as 2 other goalkeepers. So they've got 4 goalkeepers on the books. You have to think that the Caps are going to make a play for Crepeau.
Yeah. One other thing, small thing, but Brian Rowe is not. He's out of contract.
Yeah.
He wasn't an option person. He, from what I've heard, and maybe you've heard this as well, he is not someone they are looking at all in any way, shape, or form.
I would not have thought so.
The other thing, just I want to say about Marinovic.
Jeez, I hope Brian Rowe's not listening right now.
No, I think he knows that.
Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding.
The other thing about Marinovic, and this goes for all the guys whose options were not taken. One of the questions that was asked of MDS it was, is there? Would you be seeking out different contract options for anyone whose option you didn't take? Like you just didn't like the contract, or you thought it wasn't good for that, or you felt you wanted to be more fair to a player or whatever. And he was like, no. So like anyone who might think, oh, maybe they get Marinovic on a different kind of deal or a new deal or whatever.
Yeah,
that's not happening
gone.
for him or any of the other people whose options were not taken.
If we did make a bid for Crepeau, could be a trade, could be some funny money.
It had to be trade. And I would say that it's going to be a high value.
No, that has to be a trade. Funny money.
No, that's what I mean. With the funny money.
Oh.
With the funny money.
Yeah, like it'd have to be like. Remember we talked about a couple weeks ago. Raheem Edwards went for 400.
Yeah, would you
I
give
would say
them
Crepeau would go to
Effie
400 to 500 as well. Huh?
What?
Would you give them Effie Pies?
Okay, do you guys?
No.
I think Montreal is not going to trade him easily to Vancouver.
Okay,
you guys are giving them
okay. That's a legitimate perspective.
Yeah.
But I think that's a crazy money.
I don't think it's reasonable, but I think that's what Montreal would request.
Yeah, well, maybe we can throw in some.
There's lots of things I've asked for and I don't get.
We can throw some fries to go with their
value.
cheese. No, but here's the thing. My question for you guys, first off, is do you think, based on this USL Keeper of the Year, whatever, his past season's performances, whatever, that Maxime Crepeau is ready to be a number 1 in MLS?
Well, see, that's the other question I've got as well. Because
He's really young right now.
Because
he is young, but I wouldn't want to give up too much for him for the simple reason that we don't know that he is MLS starting quality.
And the way MDS was talking, and it might just be talk to make things, sound positive, it sounds like they're aiming kind of high. So I guess my first question is, do you think Maxime Crepeau is at the same level of Stefan Marinovic? Because it sounds like they're aiming higher or at least as good.
Yeah, no, because he's an international goalkeeper.
Right. And so, exactly, for the Kiwis,
Albeit
right?
New Zealand, but he's still an international goalkeeper.
Right. So that's why I question Crepeau as a number 1 option.
No. I would not have him here as a number 1.
Okay, you think they're going to bring him as number 2?
I'd have him battling it out
with someone else.
Someone proper.
I don't mind battling out. I just don't know if you're Maxime Crepeau, do you leave here or do you stay and battle Evan Bush? Because Evan Bush, like if you're Maxime
Crepeau,
Bush
that's just signed a new 3-year deal.
Yeah,
and it's like
but I think that's
hard
not
to then
that's not an
displace.
insurmountable mountain to climb.
No,
true. That's what I just wondered. Like I'm not saying there's no chance or there's not discussions or whatever, but
if we look at some of there's a few goalkeepers up whose options weren't picked up, and I threw 3 names in there that caught my eye for various reasons. Clint Urban, TFC, 29, 7 years in MLS. He's had 36 clean sheets and 128 appearances. He's on 221. So you don't want to take him at that. You definitely want him to be way lower.
Well,
Brian Rowe's on 135.
He could be higher than 221.
Oh, wait, his option's going to be, yeah. Brian Rowe's on 135. Marinovic was on 162.5. Melvin's on 54.5. He's definitely back. Crepeau was on 84. You have to think he's going to be on higher.
If you get Clinton win for between 175 and 200, that'd be a good deal, I think.
See, I like Irwin, but a lot, when we put this out on Twitter, folk are like, no, stay away from Irwin, and they don't like him. They don't think he's a good keeper. He didn't have a good year with TFC when he did play, but he was when he was playing, he had like B-team defenders in front of him.
Yes.
You're
'Cause there
only
was
as
a lot
good
of-
as the defence in
there was
front
a lot
of you
of-
a lot of the time.
There were a lot of injuries at that time too.
Caleb Wilkins pointed us towards the analysis and all the goalkeeper stats, and he's down near the bottom, as are Rowan Marinovic, but so is David Ousted. So would you say David Ousted is a bad goalkeeper that's at the bottom of MLS goalkeepers, or did he just have a bad year because he maybe didn't have a great defence in front of him?
And he played like every game on the road. That's
So,
that's another thing.
You've got to look at that. I've always quite liked Urban.
He's had good seasons before.
Yeah.
You just can't base everything on last season because there are.
You don't keep 36 clean sheets. I mean, you're talking about 1 in 4 games, basically, he's kept a clean sheet.
And he played for Colorado at the time
Yeah.
too, so that was a big accomplishment.
I'll let you read your options, and then I'll give feedback on all three at the same
Well,
time.
yeah, I mean, the other two, there was other ones, but the two that kind of thought. Now, I'm not talking about a starter. I'm talking about a backup or someone that
Or
would challenge somebody
a
that
starter.
we've got in as a starter. Andrew Dykstra, just because he's experienced, and he's also cheaper at Irwin at 108. He's not been great, I know. Maybe 9 seasons in the league, 36 appearances only, 8 clean sheets. He's from Honolulu. We are going back there, so it might be a way to tempt him into the pre-season camp anyway. Joe Bendick from Orlando, who I've never been a huge fan of, but he is experienced again. 7 years in the league. Portland, TFC, just sign him from our rivals, why not?
No, I don't.
3 with
I don't
Orlando.
see it well.
22 clean sheets from 170 appearances. Never played a playoff game, though. Is that because he's never been able to get them to the playoffs because he's not a difference maker? So that was the only 3 from these guys that jumped out.
I only like Clint Irwin.
Would you
out of
touch
that
any of them?
as an option?
I was going to say this is good, bad, and ugly. I think it's a good shout. It's a good
Didn't work out
discussion.
which one's ugly between Bendick and Dykstra.
It's a good discussion to have about, I think, Clint Irwin. Like, he's at least someone legitimate to discuss. Like, he's a legitimate option, either as a number 1, a battling number 1, number 2, whatever. I would say Andrew Dykstra is a bad option.
Yeah, no one liked him at all.
And Joel Bendick is the ugly option. Like, he, I just don't rate him at all. When you watch his big errors, his big mistakes, it's nightmarish, and I don't think that's an avenue they should pursue.
Yeah, I mean, most folk didn't want us to touch any of those 3 goalkeepers. Glassite did a tweet where he was throwing up at the thought, and I can see that. But I think if we had a good starter, and Irwin was happy to come here as a backup, he's a solid guy to have as a backup. So there's that. Obviously, centre-back is where we've got the big hole because we may only have Daniil Henry. We've never been capable, it would appear, of producing quality centre-backs in a residency that go on to make the grade.
Yeah, there was great hope for Daniel, but he did
Yeah.
everything he could to get out of his MLS rights.
Well, I mean, maybe he would want to come back now. Actually, just going back to goalkeepers, Simon Thomas was a name that popped into my head. Would he want to come back?
I don't think
Only if it's a starter.
Yeah, I don't think this is the time. I think I haven't looked at his starts and stuff this season, but I know last season, like, he really helped his team, and things were going well for him in Norway. So I don't think he would want to, but I don't think he would want to in terms of like, oh, it would be nice to go back and play close to my family on the island.
So, looking at some centre-backs, and there was quite a few that came up. Now, there was one guy who we talked about a couple of weeks ago, Kofi Apara from DC, the Ghanaian. He's 28.
Also has Canadian roots as well.
Yes. 6 seasons in the league, 79 appearances. I know goals and assists from a defender, like especially a centre-back's kind of silly to look at, but 4 goals and 1 assist. He's on 133,000, give or take, a little bit just now. I'd rather have his teammate, I think, though, Kevin Ellis, who's 27, 8 seasons in the league, most of them with KC, 92 appearances. He did just go to DC from Chicago, so I'm thinking he's on a high option because he was only on 158. If it was round about that, I'd snap him up.
If you don't want Aaron Mond here as a center back, I don't think you can want Kevin
think
Ellis.
Ellis is
The
better
only
than
good thing about
Mond,
the only good thing about Ellis there is 7 of there's 7 goals. I think 4 of them have been against Vancouver. Like he scored like 3 or 4 goals against Vancouver.
And 9 assists.
Yeah,
Not
but
bad.
I don't I don't think Ellis would be
I
a
don't
good
know.
option.
I honestly don't know much about Ellis. I don't know.
Opare maybe.
Is
but-
he athletic? Can he run, or is he a
You don't remember
slower
him?
prodding? I don't remember.
see,
him.
Kansas? You always scored for Kansas City.
Nah, I can't recall him. He's
Th-
not
this
somebody
is-
that stood out to me at all.
It's the thing with these centre backs because we think we know how Marc Dos Santos is going to want to play, and from what he told us, he's wanting like the centre backs up near the halfway line when we're pushing. So you need some quick guys that can get back as well, and a lot of these guys maybe not so much. Leonardo
No, we don't.
from
let's
Houston,
not,
no, you don't like that at all.
No, when he was at the Galaxy,
Brazilian.
He was so slow.
That's
like,
the
slow
thing,
and
because talking about needing a
easy to
fast
catch out.
centre back, he's the
No.
guy that's not
Yeah,
that.
I'm not a big fan of your
No.
next choice either.
You're not.
No,
you're
you
not.
don't like-
This one I could see actually.
I quite like this. Nick Hagland.
I wouldn't say I
TFC.
like it, but I
well,
could see it.
from the list, he's 28. He's had 5 years in the league, all with Toronto. He's been part of a winning defence. He's got playoff experience. Yeah, he's not a great producer in 6 goals and 5 assists, but for a centre back, it's still not too bad.
And he
That's
scored
from
some.
98
Some of those goals have been
appearances.
huge.
I know, but I just
His
remember.
tackling's not great.
I just remember this last season when I think they were playing Vancouver,
Yeah.
and he just stood there and watched the ball go right by him.
Yeah.
And didn't move or just got
Yeah.
frozen there.
You're right. That,
He is good at the air, and he's a good blocker. I don't know that, again, the speed is another thing that would fit in. He's only on 135.
and his
let's
option
just
was
say.
not taken.
His option was not taken either.
Yeah.
It could just be, see, when a team's not made the playoffs, TFC and ourselves, and you've given up a lot of goals, TFC and ourselves, you make your changes in defence. We've done it. TFC's done it. They've let the likes of Ashton Morgan go and stuff as well. But another guy, last centre-back we'll look at on this list, Amir Didic, who I don't think we would even need to take in the re-entry draft because I don't think he would get picked up. He's a guy that I'd be happy, have a punt, bring him into the pre-season camp, have a look at him. He's Canadian. He'll soon be 24. He's on just under 56,000, which is just above the league minimum. Hasn't played an MLS minute, but did so well in the USL. He's some of his ball playing, ball at his feet is fantastic. He's agile. I like for a fourth, fifth centre back.
Oh, for sure.
I'd have a
yeah.
look at
I'd
him.
take him.
Third, fourth,
Yeah.
fifth.
Bring him into pre-season camp. No harm there.
And
at
if they're
all.
going to play 3 at the back, they're going to need like maybe 6 on the roster then
Yeah.
at that point because you want to be able to rotate because we have a tendency to have injured center backs.
I think
Yes.
I think Kevin Ellis has played some right back too, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he has as well.
If he's played right back, then he'd probably be a good fit because you want that guy that can play a right back as a center back in a 3-man back.
Wait, there's Daniel Henry.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, let's never see him.
No, I don't want him to play.
I
don't want.
I really like.
I don't want Ellis
I
to.
wasn't finished my sentence.
I don't want to play Ellis. I don't want Ellis to play right back, but I want somebody that can play right back to play that right center back if they're playing 3.
Well, the only 2 right backs I kind of identified from who's available in the options is Nick DeLeon, who I know a lot of folk have mixed opinions on. A couple of years ago, I would definitely have snagged him up.
And I don't think they would have let him go either.
He's at 275 as well. We'd not touch him anywhere near that.
Yeah, because of the injuries.
But
That's why they didn't.
16 goals and 18 assists. He's like,
But he
Marc
hasn't
Dos
always- he
Santos
hasn't-
has
he
talked
hasn't
about
been a-
he's wanting right backs that
But
produce.
DeLeon's not a natural right back. He's played a lot of midfield
Oh yeah,
and
he's a
wing.
midfielder
winger,
too, but
yeah.
I mean he can. He could be
I
an
think-
Effie Juarez who could be a midfielder or right back.
I think his injury kind of concerns have put him back as a
I
right
think
back
so.
because they don't want him
Are
to.
his best days behind him?
For those not
Not
in,
at 20.
those not in studio, you might not have picked on Michael's sarcasm there.
I was kidding.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Eric Miller from Minnesota is another guy that jumps out, but Minnesota are renegotiating his contract right now. Who knows though? I mean, he's only on 106.
He was
He
drafted.
only arrived in
drafted by
Minnesota in
Montreal.
May as well. That's the thing, yeah. So I mean, he drafted in Montreal, knows Canada, knows people that speak French.
Does he know Bob?
Maybe. So I
I
mean,
didn't mean that, Bob. I just-
that's a couple of options anyway. So I mean, well, we're going to look at some midfielders and forwards next week. Obviously, the re-entry draft and the waiver draft is not something that lots of folk have a lot of great success with.
One guy that you didn't have on your list as a fullback that I noticed, I don't know if his option wasn't picked up or is his contract's over or he was on loan and he's going back. Saad Abdul Salam.
Yeah.
His
talked
option.
about
I don't
it.
think his option was picked
I
up.
looked at him. Yeah, it wasn't.
Yeah.
I think
he
they're
would be-
they're renegotiating with
Yeah,
him. and
well,
he was-
that's the
I think he was
case.
on really high though,
Yeah.
because I ruled off folk that were on obscene amounts of money, which quite a lot of them are.
No, he's at 120. This last season, he was at 120. I don't know what his option year was.
I've looked at so many figures today; it's very confusing.
No, I'm almost sure he was 120. But that's fine. We'll check it up.
So, I mean, that's some guys. You can let us know your thoughts on that, and we'll chat about that next week. Of course, we talked about one guy whose option wasn't picked up. He won't be back. It's Stefan Marinovic. So, I'm not going to get to go for fish and chips with him.
Fish and chips, chips and fish. My, oh my, what a wonderful dish. Put some salt and vinegar on, and you'll be licking your lips.
So if you're having fish and chips, Stefan, do you have it with salt and vinegar, or salt and sauce of some kind?
Probably salt and what's the sauce? Tartar sauce?
Tartar, yeah.
Tartar sauce, yeah.
And have you got a favourite fish choice that you have? Or you just take whatever?
I'll take the freshest fish what's on offer. So if I'm right next to the ocean, I want fresh caught fish. So usually in New Zealand that would be snapper.
Ah,
yeah,
cool. That's great.
How much is the fish? How much is the fish? How much is the chips? Does the fish have chips? How much is the fish? How much is the chips? How much is the fish? Does the fish have chips?
I am going to miss Stefan for those fun chats we had with him. He was a good laugh.
Was your favorite? Your favorite?
He was definitely one of my favourites to talk to for these fun segments. After Jordan Harvey left, he was my go-to guy.
My favourite part was this year was him almost punching out Corey Basso because of that April Fool's joke.
Yeah, Stephen. Actually, if we talked about Jordan Harvey leaving, Jordan Harvey's option wasn't picked up. Get him back here, player coach.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Oh well, just a thought. Let's turn our attention, though, to some action on the pitch in MLS, and it was the semi-finals or the conference finals, depending how you want to look at it. The MLS Cup finals all set, though, and it's the Lumberjacks going head-to-head with everyone's favourite love interest in MLS, Atlanta. Is it not a big love fest for Atlanta?
Well, MLS loves them. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm the only positive that came out of this weekend is I don't really care about the final now because I don't have a really.
I would have called it and fast forward through.
Yeah, 30-second bumps.
Atlanta had pretty much done the job in the first leg. They finished it off in New Jersey. Wasn't a fantastic match. You kind of expected it not to be. Red Bulls got another goal, rightly ruled off for a foul on the keeper.
Yep.
Timmy Parker got a
left
playoff
foot
goal.
Flick hit it with his left foot.
I honestly think I could have scored from that. It would have been hard to miss.
I don't know. I've seen you in those.
That could get him that contract in Europe.
I've never scored in New Jersey, right enough, but we'll see. There was a lot to write home about, so let's kind of move on. All the drama was saved for the Western Conference final.
Wait, it was great that Deadpool died. That's
yes,
the greatest.
I thought you'd be happy. Yeah. They haven't announced their options yet either, so KC did the day after. But yeah, the drama was saved for the Western Conference final. It was a fantastic match. I really enjoyed it. KC dominant in the first half and really should have put the game to bed.
Yeah.
Daniel Saloy gave them the lead in the 20th minute after my Johnny did dogged work. Then Diego Rubio played the ball in for the goal.
Johnny did well, but the defending was not great.
Yes. Then two goals called back.
That seems to be a common theme when we're talking about MLS.
He doesn't like Johnny.
No, actually,
I'm talking about the defending in MLS.
He's a great MLS player.
Did Mark say we're getting Johnny?
No, I did not. No one asked that.
I'm talking about the MLS defending. That seems to be a common theme.
Yes.
And it's not very good.
No, it's not.
No.
That's why.
Stefan Marinovic.
Maybe why we don't want to take a lot of options in from that. Although we do need some centre backs badly. Not bad centre backs. KC did get 2 goals called back again, rightly. So. I hate to say rightly, but they were rightly.
The Alpara, the one was the very clear one.
Yeah. It looked like KC were comfortable at half-time. I thought, they've got this done, nothing to worry about. But when you've got away goals and you've got a 1-goal lead...
Yeah, it's not enough.
Maybe
it's safe.
Well, it's safe unless you're playing the Whitecaps. In Seattle, as an example.
Well, the equalizer was this a sublime strike.
It was beautiful,
but it was a moment.
One of the goals of the season.
But it was a moment where you saw when you play they play sort of like that 4-3-3, right? Kansas City.
Yeah.
In that midfield, you cannot shut off for a moment.
No,
because the ball's played out almost to the touchline to Blanco. He cuts inside, takes on Espinoza, who's like probably their hardest man, right in the middle. Gets by him, and the other midfielders do not shift over and he has all this time and space just to have a go. Like, it was a great strike. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely wonderful strike, but yeah.
But you cannot swish off like
you can't let a player have a shot like
No.
that. And Valeri did what difference makers do.
And prior to that,
Get braces?
Prior to that, Sporting had held Portland scoreless
the whole
for
season.
321 straight minutes,
Oh.
and then gave up 2 goals in 9 minutes.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yes. They talked about that lots on the break.
Yeah, because Valeri, he's class. It's like you want to hate him because he plays for a rival, but he's class.
So as much as he'll get credit for the 2 goals he scored, again, that second goal was created by Blanco.
Yeah.
Blanco and Ebobisse, his perfectly timed run with a nice lifted ball by Blanco over the top. He doesn't quite get it. The Emilia gets a hand to it, and Diego is making a great late run.
But then before Valeri's second, there was the possible game-changing decision. Zarek Valentin
That should have been
sent off for a second yellow. But then Portland would just have put everyone behind the ball, so KC then have to break that down, still needing 2 goals to...
VAR, can they not help with that? Or no, because it's a yellow card?
No,
it's
it's
yellow.
not one. It's not
It's
one.
a
of the
Yellow,
things
so
that
they
they're
can't,
allowed
right?
to
Okay,
look at.
I was wondering about
I
that.
know.
Now, if it was inside the box, then they could have issued that second yellow because they would have seen it. But they couldn't review it based on the yellow outside the box. Now, Gerson Fernandez came on as a sub.
Yeah.
Really made a difference. Scored the goal to equalize the game, but not obviously.
He had a strange stash.
Yeah,
he had a Movember thing going on.
Well, it still was November.
He was.
Yeah. And then, I think he almost had a chance to get them ahead too, but he couldn't. He couldn't put it away.
But when they put up 9 minutes of stoppage time, I thought they're going to do it. They're going to do it.
Well, that was because of the player, the fans, not in the end zone like Peter Vermeer's thought.
Yes.
The fans on the side threw beer cans at Valeri after his first
come
goal.
on, let's be honest. Who has not wanted to throw some beer cans at some Portland players over the years?
Wait,
or rocks.
Wait,
or...
so you were getting all mad about what happened in South America, and now you're saying throw some stuff at...
This is Portland.
No, he's saying who wouldn't want to. He didn't say do it.
I didn't say I would. Okay. I'm not condoning it.
I thought you were condoning more things.
No.
As opposed to Steve and I.
I'll plead the fifth on that. Is that what you guys say in the US of A?
Well, that's what they say in the US of A.
Is that not where we are? I don't know. I get confused. But yeah, they couldn't do it. KC were pressing. There was a quick breakaway. Chara slipped the ball inside to Valeri, ran in, put the tie to bed. Espinosa, though, he was caught in 2 minds as to whether to go and tackle deep in the Timbers half or leave it, and it just let the whole move get set up. So disappointing for Johnny. I felt I was heartbroken for him.
The pass from Chara on that outside of his boot, he was facing away from the field, and I think the teammates were yelling at him, so he quickly just turned it outside of his right foot, and then Valeri's little move to score was nice.
So who you got for the final? I want Atlanta, but I think Portland can do it.
You want Atlanta?
Yo,
I think
between Atlanta and Portland, yeah.
Well, I do not like Atlanta, and so I think Atlanta's our odds-on favorite, not just for hosting and but also what they've done this year. But I would be okay, I think, with Cascadia reclaiming.
Oh,
my conspiracy theory is that they wanted Portland in that final because they felt like Sporting could beat Atlanta, but Portland couldn't.
But you can't sleep on this Portland.
And that's why they had Mike Geiger in charge of that game.
Yeah.
Mark Geiger?
Mark Geiger, whatever.
They could go and get hammered 5-0.
Yeah.
But they could also win 2-1.
But I want Atlanta to win.
Oh, okay.
And KC just need to blow their roster up now, get rid of folk like Johnny Russell and Iko Para, send them to Vancouver. We're sorted. Yeah.
They need some TAM.
Definitely. Anyway, we'll be back with some more chat, Whitecaps chat this time, after this.
Hi guys, this is Felipe. Thanks for listening AFTN.
They're a fish cake, I'm a great white. They're too wee for me to just take bites. They're a hatchling, I'm a pterodactyl sat in their nest when they're watching me take flight. I was lost, but I'm back and I ken what I'm on. Taking it back to the place that I had it. I'm paving the way when I rap it on songs. They said I lost my way, I think I lost my way. Too many thoughts up in my brain, I couldn't talk it straight. They said I lost my way, I think I lost my way. Too many thoughts up in my brain, I really lost my way. They said I lost my way, I think I lost my way. Too many thoughts up in my brain, I couldn't talk it straight. They said I lost my way, I think I lost my way. Too many thoughts up in my brain, I really lost my way.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. Mad Hat McGore there with Lost My Way from his new album The Lost Sword. Recommend everyone goes to Bandcamp and downloads that. It's pay what you want, so you can get it for nothing if you want. Chuck him a little bit of cash. It's a very dark album, though, I will say that. It talks about the death of his young daughter and his depression and alcoholism and suicidal thoughts. And go check out Mad Hat McGore. Yeah. But Mad Hat there talking about losing his way. Whitecaps kind of lost their way a little bit at the start of this season. And we're going to kind of continue our year in review with a look at March and April. The Ides of March by Wrathchild, leading us in to March. And March started good. March and April were strange times in Whitecapsland because March got off to such a great start, and then April was a complete balls up where things were coming off the rails, and that's how I feel the Whitecaps were losing their way. It raised a lot of questions about the team. Was this the first warning signs in those 2 months that things just weren't right, or is hindsight just a great thing? We're reading too much into it now.
Well, there were a lot of acquisitions that were late in the off-season, so they really were still trying to get everybody together.
And some injuries.
Yeah.
But that's in the MLS era for Vancouver. That's not abnormal.
Normal. Yeah.
I mean, it's not as bad as TFC used to do with their acquisitions in their early days, their early years in MLS, but I don't know that you can blame that. Plus, that is also a result of their approach to squad building and spending on things like transfer fees. When you're not going to spend any money on a transfer fee, then you're going to have to wait till players exhaust all their options before they'll come for free or be out of contract or have no other options where they can make more money.
A low deal
when you're shopping at the bottom of the barrel, you got to wait for everyone to empty the barrel till it's at the bottom.
Yeah.
It's like if you're wanting players from Europe, they want to stay in Europe, so you have to wait till the European transfer windows are over before you can maybe make a move for them.
So if people think that's a problem, then
get used to it.
No, that's solely on the ownership and the football committee.
Yeah, unless you're going to splash the cash, that's how it's going to be.
Not even splash the cash, but if you're not, they're literally not willing to spend any money on transfers.
Yeah. Well, that might change.
Well, you would think it would, based on what
we would hope. Yes.
Well, getting back to March itself. Well, I know you're saying we lost our way, but it started out decently with a 2-1 win over Montreal.
Yeah,
Marc Dos Santos is this old Montreal team.
Old
forward team.
We won't go through all the games one by one, but we've got to go through that Montreal game. 2-1 win to get the season off to a great start. It was the first time in a competitive game we got to see the great relationship on the pitch between Kai Kamara and Alphonso Davies.
The Wakanda connection.
Kamara grabbed the first goal, his first goal as a Whitecap, assisted by Davies.
Nice cross too.
Then Fonzie gets his first ever MLS goal, just as I went for a piss. So I think I brought that on. I did get to see it on the TV screen, so that was good.
That's the one where he shot it at the keeper and it was so hard it went.
It was
not a great
fortunate finish.
I mean, it should have been a goal based on the build-up and the amount of net he had to shoot out.
It wasn't the greatest finish.
Yeah.
And I started passing, the rest of the season, I started passing Michael Water.
Yeah.
So he would go to the washroom more often.
I think that's how Fonzie had such a good season. 8 goals and 11 assists he finished it with. What do you think it was, though, that finally sparked that production from him into results on the pitch? Because that was his first MLS goal when he'd had plenty of opportunities. What brought out the best of Fonzie this year?
Maybe like a releasing of the reins. Maybe he was given more freedom to explore the pitch more. Obviously, him also knowing he's turning 18 soon, he's got to show what he can do on the pitch. Because if he wants to make a move to Europe, it's got to be this season, right?
You'd think if the pressure was building on him, he would go more into his shell, but instead he exploded out of that shell.
I think it's more the freedom part. He was given more, and rightly or wrongly, I think Robbo did kind of keep him under reins because you don't want to expose him too much to everybody, and then all of a sudden the pressure becomes too strong. Maybe it was the right time to release him too at that point.
Zach, your thoughts?
Yeah.
Okay, great analysis there.
That's why we've got Zach on this show. But Kamara was a great addition. First proper striker, I'd say, since Kenny Miller was here. In terms of being an actual striker.
Freddie Montero?
Oh, I forgot about him. I genuinely did.
That's why we have you here for the great analysis.
Yeah. Oh, well done. Kamara got 3 goals in his first month. The Montreal game, though, it kind of threw up maybe the first signs that Vancouver's defence was a little bit, makes you want to throw up over the course of the season. 81st minute goal for Montreal suddenly brought them back into the game, and it's squeaky bum time. I mean, it definitely was signs of things to come defensively for us.
Especially late goals.
March's 5 games.
Late goals
were a killer this year.
Whether it's the first half or the second half.
Yeah. March's 5 matches produced 3 wins, 1 draw, and 1 defeat. That defeat was to MLS Cup finalists Atlanta.
And that was because the Kendall Waston red card that shouldn't have been a red card that was rescinded afterwards as well.
And Joseph Martinez getting one of his many hat tricks.
Yeah.
We kick-started Martinez this season, that's what I like to think. Thank you, MLS, we'll take the credit. And then, our designated player, Breck Shea, was in some amazing form in March. 2 goals, and then he got a third to kick off April. Nice little celebration in Columbus as well, where he was pointing to his Texas tattoo and pointing at Austin. That's still my celebration of the year. I find that hilarious. I'll admit, if Shea had kept up that form and production, I was fine with him being back, and I had him as he's a good DP.
No.
Not agree?
No.
If he was getting 2 goals a month,
I don't think you would have been able to maintain it next year. I think you were better off trading him to somebody who thought he could keep it up.
Yeah, the Whitecaps front office were like, come on, keep this up. We can get him traded in the next window. Didn't happen though, sadly. It all kind of went to shit though in April after that. We definitely lost our way. 3 straight losses. RSL, LAFC, KC.
The disaster in KC.
Yeah. Then we finished the month though with a 2-0 win over RSL. So we finished the month good. But the KC game, absolute disgrace on so many levels.
That's where you saw the signs that there was an issue with discipline on the team. Even though the year before it was so well, like they had turned it around and you didn't expect it and it just fell apart.
The one thing about it that the discipline or whatever, like I'm not saying this to justify his actions or whatever, but you can correct my memory because I'm getting old. I mean, not as old as you, Michael, but I'm getting old.
True. You missed my birthday a couple of weeks ago,
wasn't Juarez sending off like him kind of rushing to Jordy's defense?
Yes.
Right.
It was handbags. It was just stupid because he is an experienced player, but he's hot-blooded and hot-tempered, as we maybe saw later on in the year.
So I don't think that his teammates would appreciate the sending off, but I think in one sense there's an appreciation of like sticking up for one of your fellow teammates.
But before the sending offs, we were 3-0 down. Johnny Russell had ripped us a new one.
The game. That's the thing. The game was lost by then. Like
it was disgraceful.
Didn't Marinovic also stop a PK in that game?
He did.
Yeah.
KC finished that match with 80% possession, 34 shots to our 5. Was that the worst ever Whitecaps performance in the MLS era? Surely it takes some beating. I can't think of another game, even in the first year.
No, there were some
that was
fours.
As horrendous as
there were
that.
some 4-0s.
I mean, not even just looking at giving up 6 goals, just the overall
performance,
lack of discipline and just defensive ridiculousness and just everything about the whole performance.
Yeah, I don't think that can be beaten. I mean, there's big games they lost that you would hope for better, but it's just in terms of like not a big game, like just a, it's not a huge rivalry, right? Like I can't think of one that was
that bad. Yeah.
I mean, the first year they lost like 4-0 to DC, 4-0 to LA, right? I think.
Yeah.
How about that 4-1 game in Seattle? Oh no, we won that.
That was a win.
That was the win. That was okay.
That was good.
Let's talk some positive.
When it was April, we talked that things clearly weren't going right. We even discussed the management and should there be a change?
Well, again, to be fair, if you go back and listen to episodes of previous seasons, April is usually the time where you say this squad is not good enough.
Yep.
Except for 1 year. 1 year, I don't know if it was this year or last. Well, it couldn't have been this year. I think it was last year. I think last year was the year where you're like, I think they can do this.
Yeah.
I think, which was interesting.
Yeah, we still should.
I still remember how surprised I was to hear you say that. So like right on schedule this year in April, you're like, this is not good enough.
And was I right? Was I right?
Well, I think the results of...
Well, you had a 50-50 chance of being right or wrong.
Shush. We did say, though, when we had that chat, that Robbo was still the best person to have the reins because of what he had to work with. We didn't see anyone else able to come in at that point and take over. And I still think it was the right decision.
Yeah.
It would have been too early to get rid of him then. I do think June maybe was a time that you could have got rid of him, June, July, but he always just seemed to do enough to just hang on. And then it got to the difficult situation of at what point...
Well, I think June, July is when they already began to prepare for Dos Santos, right? Like,
yeah.
So I don't think were willing to part with the funds that it would have taken to do it at that time, maybe.
Now, hindsight and all that, but if we had made an early change, could it have saved the season when you look at where we finished just a couple of points back?
Not if they didn't make any more personnel changes. They needed to make personnel changes. I don't think the coaching change would have made that much of a difference. Although, like Dalrymple, when he was in, I don't know how much he did in the coaching aspect, but just the change did kind of make a difference in some of the games.
It's hard to say because you don't know what a new coach would have done.
Yeah.
Could he have brought new players in the summer, for example?
Yeah, I think if it was earlier in the year, I don't think it would have been Dalrymple. I think they would have found somebody.
Yeah, they definitely would have.
With more experience as a coach, yeah.
And it's always easy to look back and go, he could have done this, couldn't have done that. But, I mean, Robbo did well with what he had over the years. It's just April was just such a bad month.
You know, I think Robbo always got more than what... he got more out of what he had to work with.
Yeah, but ultimately he built this team. And I still say the players let him down. And like once they cross the line on the pitch, there's only so much a coach can do. And when you've got like Reina and Juarez getting stupidly sent off and defenders that seem to have forgotten how to defend and I mean, there's not a lot a coach can do. So the players have to take ownership.
No,
for that.
100%. You can tell what kind of players you have when it gets to a game where it's 3-1 and you're being played off the pitch, and your reaction to that. Are you going to keep playing, or are you just going to give up? Are you going to get? Are you going to lose it with the competition? Are you going to get egged on by them, and are you going to fall into their trap where you get sent off? Yeah. I think that had a lot to do with what the type of players you had.
I don't know about egged on. We're certainly shat on in April, especially in KC.
Well, no, I'm talking about in the KC game itself. Like Johnny Russell was getting under their nerves.
Oh, yeah. We talked about
but that's partly what he does.
Yeah.
We interviewed him before the match, and that should have been all they needed to know how dangerous he was. If I like a player, he's going to cause damage. But at least a month in it with a high. There's a win over at RSL.
And one of the best sendings off.
Playoff contenders, RSL. Yeah, best sending off ever. Does it beat Eric Castley? No, Eric Castley's is still the best Whitecaps sending off ever.
Sorry, which one are you thinking?
Teixeira.
Oh, no, you can't compare. You can't compare those two.
Both involve jerseys getting taken off. You can kind of compare.
Sorry, yes, you can in that sense. But like Eric's was so epic. And Eric's was planned. Eric was like, I'm going to skirt the rule. I mean, even though he'd been booked for this in Europe, he's like, I'm going to try and skirt the rules. Who cares that I have a yellow card? And they still got a draw in that game, right?
Yeah.
1-1 against
it was 2-2
New England. Was it 2-2?
Oh, whatever. Doesn't make a difference.
But Gersh got sent off in the game.
We were down 2 men at that time.
But looking at
Toledo.
Yes, so we were.
Yeah.
Looking at this season then, was Teixeira sending off the stupidest thing of the season? If we're giving our AFTN award for stupidest thing of the season.
You have to say stupidest because I know you're going to say Juarez.
Yeah, no, Juarez pushing a referee.
I know, but the thing is, the Teixeira one is he knew he had a yellow and he still took his shirt off.
True, whereas Liffey just had a rush of blood
and then the thing is, immediately all the players knew he was getting sent off because they all tried to surround him.
Yeah, they grabbed his shirt and put it.
Tried to put his shirt back on.
And
then when they saw the number on the front, the referee obviously realized that it was on.
The other thing that's similar with Eric Castley is they were both penalties, and that's where you should, as Teixeira, it's not like he just scored in the moment and had no time to think.
Yeah.
It's like he's lining up. He's lining up, and
he had words with Ramondo at that just before the penalty.
He did, so it was
and he was heated with
it.
But to answer your question, Steve, no, the thing that impacted the season most was Greg Anderson's misunderstanding of Brek Shea's contract.
We're talking about sending off.
That's what you said. No, you said the biggest foolish mistake.
That.
No, stupidest sending off.
Okay.
No, I
Sure.
just said stupidest thing, to be fair.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
okay,
yeah.
right, okay.
That RSL game, though, also Anthony Blundell got his only goal of the year.
Did he
The
score?
tap-in.
I remember the
It was from
tap-in.
close range, and he celebrated like it was like
It was a Rivero.
like it was a Blanco one.
It was like a great weight off of his shoulders.
It was.
It was a
like
Rivero
it
special.
was like a bird set free.
Yeah. What can we expect from Blundell? He's still here. He's training.
Yeah.
Maybe he just doesn't want to go back to Venezuela.
I think there's a chance that Marc Dos Santos will be able to use him. I think there's a chance.
Because we don't have any other strikers.
No,
right now.
no, not because of that. I think in his system, and I think hopefully, I think 2018 was a season of learning for the young man. I'm not going to call him the boy. Like
Venezuelan.
I think it was a year of learning, and so I hope that he learned a lot,
Well, it's
and
a
I
new-
hope
new
that
country.
he can move forward.
Yeah,
Finding his
for
feet.
me, the perfect, you know, he had the description of his celebrating. For me, put in a movie sense, it was like in Shawshank Redemption when that Tim Robbins character became free, and basically, I think that was the moment that I saw when he celebrated.
Yeah. When you've moved to a new country,
Yeah.
and you're trying to just learn the language and find your feet and just know what you can and can't do in the
Yeah.
country. I mean, it was tough for him. He's shown he can score in Venezuela. Can he score in Canada?
He can. He did.
He did once.
Can he score consistently in Canada?
That's the question. Couple of homegrown signings as well. Sean Melvin, Simon Collin was signed in the month of April.
Yep.
March and April? Or were they spread out over the months?
I think they were both April.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Melvin was initially loaned to Fresno.
Didn't get any
Yeah.
starts.
No, didn't get any minutes at all.
Did anyone get a start in first?
No,
They didn't get a start here or Fresno.
They lug Verhoeven there.
Yeah,
No.
but they're not bringing anyone back
No.
because I don't think Fresno is our affiliate next year.
No.
But that's for another time.
Who is though? Because they have to have one. Those they legally.
Well,
No.
apparently some clubs this year didn't.
What?
Yeah.
Did that get taken off the napkin?
But could they argue that a CPL team would be their affiliate? That's what I'm thinking.
Oh,
We'll see.
if they call Pacific their affiliate, that's going to be really
Oh,
sad.
I hope so.
That's going to be disgraceful for the CPL.
But Simon Colline, he also signed his homegrown deal in April. Got to take part in that 100 versus 2 match with Eric Hurtado.
Oh, that was fun.
There was
Yeah.
a moment. I forget which game. It might have been in the last game, where at the halftime, him and Hurtado came out again, and there was kids on the pitch doing something. I thought, again, and then they just warmed up
Yeah.
together and got ready. I was like, oh, phew.
Now, Colline's obviously the new young gun on the Caps roster. We saw a few minutes from him at the end of the season. The symbolism of passing the baton from Fonzie to him.
I'm thinking 15 million in a couple of years.
Oh my, calm
No.
down. Everyone needs to calm down.
12 million.
Okay, 12.
You know what? The situation, not the player or the skill or whatever. It reminds me. What's his name? Was it Alex Simonitz? A young
know the
residency
name.
guy.
Yeah.
This is in the USL era. He little left-footed guy.
Yeah.
Really good. Too much was I think placed on him.
On all these guys, well, now that Alfonso, that's why I'm just kidding about that
Yeah.
15
Yeah.
million.
Well,
But
what
there
are,
will be-
what are your
there'll be a-
expectations of him for next year?
I see him being a guy that can come in and whenever, like, I think they should start him when there's like a 10 experienced players on the pitch, like he was brought on there.
So you see him definitely being part of the first
he
team
should
mix
be.
as opposed to a loan or...
He should be like kind of
I hope so.
put in here and there.
I
Maybe
think
on
he
road
will.
trips or something. They put him in on the bench or something like that. If they're not going to bring in all the experienced players and they want to rest somebody.
Yeah, I think he'll be slowly brought on, but not as slowly as possibly Robo brought Fonzie on.
Yeah.
We can't put too much pressure on him. I just hope folk do not refer to him as the next Fonzie or the new Fonzie next year, because it's just going to be terrible pressure on the kid. So that was March and April. Not the happiest time. Well, March was, but then April wasn't. Next week, though, we'll have a look at some season-defining months of May, June and July. But we'll be back with some chat about the Canadian men's national team after this.
Hi, I'm Alfonso Davies, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Football's coming home.
England's winning the World Cup?
Never. Not in my lifetime, hopefully. The Canadian men are returning to Canada's soccer city. For the first time in 2.5 years, Vancouver is going to host a men's national team game.
Yeah.
The final Nations League qualifier against French Guiana is going to be at BC Place on Sunday, March 24th, 2 p.m. kickoff. Now, with all
is that kickoff time for sure? 2 p.m.
What's MLS? It's not MLS.
So they changed the date because they were actually
they changed the date.
It was supposed to be Tuesday. They were scheduled to be the last game of the round.
Yeah.
So I guess they changed.
2 p.m. kickoff is set because they made a big thing about it's afternoon. You're going to get a big crowd out.
Oh, maybe that's why they switched the venues because the date.
I think there's lots of reasons, but that was not one of them.
The new turf, BMO, there's a whole bunch of...
The sand.
The weather, they want to be able to train somewhere where it's not like minus temperatures.
Yeah. Well, that would have been helpful.
Because it would cost the CSA lots to train only in BC Place.
Yeah. Plus, we are Canada's soccer city, the home of Canadian soccer.
It's exciting because, talking to people within the CSA, talking to Herdman himself... we were told, do not expect anything anytime soon because of the debacle around the World Cup.
The fallout from the NDP's decision to take Vancouver out of the World Cup hosting process.
Can we not talk about that? I just feel my blood pressure going up.
Well, all the murmurs were that everyone was pissed off. We wouldn't be seeing any national team games here, men or women, for a long time. I was surprised. We talked on last week's show there was going to be an announcement. We said it was going to be one of two things. Either a friendly in a training camp before this game or this game getting moved here. I thought the friendly was more likely, but they do like the hot climbs for that, so maybe not. But I genuinely never thought they would come and play a game here, at least not so soon.
Yeah,
you must be stunned.
No, I didn't either, yeah.
Was their last game in the Toronto, the attendance there a factor? Do they want more?
It has to have played into it. 10,500, they barely drew.
How much more is that going to be for French Guiana, though?
Well, they think they're going to pack out the lower bowl.
Well, that's not bad.
Because Alphonso Davies is coming back. That's
27.5. They're not going to get 27.5.
It depends how they market it, how cheap the tickets are, how many free tickets they give away.
They could fill the bottom bowl if they have enough tarp.
18 to 20 is
I think if
reasonable.
they get 20 like they did for the first game here in World Cup qualifying against Honduras,
that
would be great.
That's doubling Toronto.
If you love Canada and want to actively support them at this match, please go and connect with the Voyageurs. They have 3 sections. I think they're even having part for people who are bringing their family who still want to be in with the supporters.
Yeah, so there was a family section in the end.
So get in touch with the Voyageurs
and from reading the Voyageurs
website.
forum this week, there's a lot of guys already booked their flights. And
there's some.
lot of excitement. But for the general public here, considering the MLS season will just have started, so folks maybe not fully in the football mood again, how big a draw are French Guiana?
No, that's the thing,
18 even being optimistic?
No, that's the thing. French. This is the opposite of a Whitecaps match campaign. You're not coming to see French Guiana. Yeah. You're coming to see Canada, and you're coming to ideally see in a
Scott Arfield,
a legitimate game where they need to win, and ideally pump a number of goals, right? And yes, you're going to...
No, they just need to draw, actually, just to be in the top 6.
Right, okay. But there's still a chance they could come top of all that, right?
Oh, for sure, and that'll help with seeding and everything.
But then you have these players who are hopefully coming. Alphonso Davies return, right? Yeah. Will Atiba Hutchison be a part of this group? Will your Scottish friend be a part of this group? Arfield, right? Hoylett just hit a banger this weekend, right?
That was one of the goals of the season
Will he be here? Like, who are they going to bring, right? Like, that's...
I do wonder if Fonzie's going to make it. They're going to do all the marketing around Fonzie's homecoming, but it is an international window, so they have to let him go, I guess.
Yes.
But, yeah. I don't know. I just have this thing in the back of my head that Fonzie's not going to be here for it.
No, you're thinking Scotland probably, but Alphonso Davies will be here. There's no doubt.
He could be injured.
Well, let's not, like... Of course he could be.
Arfield could be injured.
He won't be.
I know.
Russell is going to be injured.
Arfield might not be here. We'll see.
Yeah, it's funny how they put Russell as the third player. Who was the other two? Was it Hutchison? It was on the little poster. Was there 3 people in it?
I can't remember now.
I think it was Davies, Hutchison, and Rusty.
Yeah. But we'll bring some audio from the presser and after the presser now. So we'll hear a little bit from a question I asked John Herdman during the press conference, and then a little bit of Russell Teibert talking about some Canada stuff after the press conference. When the decision was made for Vancouver not to be part of the World Cup bid, a lot of people thought that Vancouver then would not host any more qualifying games or actual national team games. What's behind the decision to come back here, apart from the crowd? Did you push for that? Did the surface play an aspect in that?
I think the prime motivation is to keep bringing this game to as many parts of Canada as we can. You know, there are some facilities that have, you know, that opportunity to put big crowds in them, and this is one of them. And then you've got the weather conditions. You know, the weather in that time of year is often not favourable in other parts of Canada. So, you know, we know BC in March is doable and playable and trainable. So, you know, it's a great place, and it's my hometown. It's his hometown. So Russ was ringing us and he was saying, "Look, John, you better have it here." Giving us grief. And my wife and kids were doing the same. No, I'm kidding. It just makes sense in that March period to make sure we get the best training facilities and a world-class facility that can host a big match. And it's a big bloody match. It's a big game for us.
What I asked John about possibly not having another game here, did that worry you when Vancouver pulled out that you may not have another national team game here?
I'm fortunate enough to be able to play in Vancouver all the time with the Whitecaps and feel the love and support. But playing with Canada, being able to represent your country, not only just a city, is something really, truly special. So, you know, I don't think I was ever worried, but what I can say now is I'm excited to play in that game.
We talked about it within the presser there, but potential comeback for Alphonso Davies in Vancouver, should he be available?
Yeah.
What do you think that means potentially for the city and of course you as a former teammate with him at the Whitecaps and still at Canada?
How cool would that be just to have him back at BC Place? The way he left, I don't think he could leave any better than the way he did. So I know everybody in Vancouver is going to welcome him back with open arms, and hopefully he can put another performance like he did.
You guys look to be getting better as the games go on, but if there is one area of improvement, maybe not from yourself personally, but maybe from a team outlook, what do you think you guys could be doing better heading into that encounter?
You know what? We made a lot of history this year. The way the team's progressed, like you said, we just keep getting better and better. So I think what we need to do as a team collectively is follow John's game plan. Follow what he's created with the men's national team, and I think we're going to be in a good spot.
What's it like to deal with John? Obviously, we've known him in this market for quite a bit with his work with the women's squad and all that, but what's it like working with him behind the scenes? He seems to be quite the people person / manager / tactician as well.
You know what? I really thought that I was the hardest worker. But I'm telling you, John and his staff, they put in so many hours and they work harder than anybody I've ever met. And they are what's driving me and what's driving this team to work harder and give even more and reach levels that we may not have before.
I wear it for my lady, the Canadian flag, baby!
Our friends the Yummy Fur with the Canadian flag, in case folk were wondering who does that song.
Because you always get asked.
Yeah. In my head I do. The voices in my head ask me a lot. But yeah, Russell Teibert there, talking about the good year it has been for Canada on the pitch. Only 4 matches, but still, 4 wins, 4 clean sheets. It does feel like a new era. He's very complimentary of John Herdman there. Are you excited by what you've seen on the pitch so far?
The competition hasn't been that great, but the way they're playing is exciting. And I think Zach, you mentioned this like last week or the week before. The exciting part is who's coming off the bench when you bring in 3 subs on, and it's almost like sometimes better than what you had on the pitch initially.
I think there's a number of things to be excited about. Yeah, Steve mentioned this the depth in the attacking part of the squad is like what we've never seen this before for Canada ever. I don't think ever. You can talk about what they've done for the national team or whatever, maybe that. They haven't done enough yet for the national team, but the actual options and the qualities they have and the way it allows them to play is crazy. Crazy for a Canadian supporter. Another thing that's exciting about, one of the things I've liked about John Herdman is the way in which he's had somewhat different approaches to these games. I know the initial formation always kind of looks the same, but the way they employ it has been a little bit different.
Fluid, would you say?
In one sense, fluid. But the other thing that's been amazing, it was like there's these teams we're supposed to hammer, and it wasn't like, hey, let's just go out and whatever. It was like, no, even though the formation looks like a 4-3-3, it's going to be, what was it?
2-4, no, 2-3, something like that.
2-5-3, right?
Yeah, something like that.
So 2-5-3. You just have, or a 2-3-5. Like it was crazy in those games, the way that they the way they went for it, and so it showed some tactical awareness, some tactical nous to change things up and not just keep them kind of status quo. And so I've enjoyed that. It looks like they can have a different look even within the same formation. That's been really exciting. And I enjoyed John Herdman when he coached the women's team. So far, I've been enjoying him as the men's coach. And
he's been quite honest as well. Like in the press conference, he talked about we needed to score more goals against Dominica. We needed to score more goals in St. Kitts.
St. Kitts. But that was my last promising thing. Is that I know they should have scored more goals in St. Kitts, but they got the result in not it wasn't Central America, like crazy difficult.
In the past, that would have been a 0-0.
In the past, they might have been 0-0 or they might have lost. Yeah. And so.
And they said the pitch was horrible.
Too. That's what they would have said in the past. They would say he would lost, but
they still said it, but
terrible.
They still said it, but they said it wasn't. They could have still scored more goals if they wanted to.
What grade would you give him then from his first year in charge?
For me, it's an A-, and it's mostly because of what he's doing off the pitch, the recruiting of some of the players, making sure they come on board for Canada, and the selling of the team to the public.
I was a B.
I'm more with Steve. I think you can't go below B+.
B+ was in my head, but I thought
B+,
I'm not even counting the results, because the results, like I said, the quality of opposition wasn't that great. But he brought in a Tabla, which nobody thought was going to happen.
Yeah,
we thought Drogba had that.
There's a few others that
take that, Didier.
About it.
Shut up, Didier.
Yeah, and then Boosty, good to get him in there.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
good old Marco Bustos.
No,
what?
Alessandro.
Oh.
And there were a few other ones that he was able to.
The negative, maybe why I would go from A- like you, Steve, to B+ is I know this is not all on John Herdman, so I'm not saying this is all on John Herdman, but the I'm going to get the age wrong now. U17 qualification for the World Cup
recently.
U20.
U20.
Yeah.
I forget which one. Anyways. The lack of having some of those bigger name players, which I know their clubs did not have to release them, but the lack of results in that scenario was extremely disappointing with the potential roster you could have for that team.
The only reason I'm giving them a B is just they've not fully been tested.
Yeah, that's
so
fair.
that's why. But
if it was just on results, I would give B- even. But I'm just saying the other stuff. Brought them up.
The last bit then around the Canadian men's national team for this part. What's the expectation of him now for 2019? I was reading the Voyagers Forum and there was some debate about this. What would be seen as exceeding expectations? What would be a failure? Obviously, you're looking at qualifying for the Nations League and the Gold Cup, and assuming we're in the Gold Cup, and just maybe looking at that, what's the expectation? What would be above it, and what would be the failure?
If we're talking about obviously qualification for League Nations and or Nations League, whatever they call themselves, and also the Gold Cup, and I would love to see at least a semifinal appearance in the Gold Cup or conference final. I don't know what they call it there. Do they call it conference final in the Gold Cup, or is it?
Semi for me would be exceeding expectations. Quarterfinals, I feel.
Oh no, I'm hoping for a semi-final appearance. Yeah,
not getting through the group at the Gold Cup.
That would be a failure.
Yeah, 100%. I think your comments are fair. Like, they need to win the game in March and advance into the Gold Cup. The Gold Cup, I would lean more with Steve, and maybe that's optimistic, but I think they should be in the semifinals of the Gold Cup.
A lot depends on the draw as well.
Yeah,
and the results and
yeah.
But something I'm really excited about the national team coming back in March is the return of former Whitecap David Edgar, who I did wonder, could David Edgar maybe make a return to Vancouver? But apart from that, when he's back in March, it's a chance for David Edgar to take me out.
Take take me out.
So it's at night, you don't fancy cooking, you decide to get some takeout food. What would be your takeout food of choice?
I'd have to say chicken tikka masala.
Oh,
yeah,
an Indian person.
yeah, large garlic naan and a couple pompadums.
And do you go out much here? Is there anywhere here that you
I haven't really had a proper Indians here yet. I'm thinking strictly from. I'm not a big Chinese person. If it's not a pizza, it would be an Indians, but that's a proper takeout.
It's big in the UK,
yeah,
so yeah,
yeah.
it's like our national food over
yeah.
there.
Went to the shop, I went to the chip shop, went to the burger shop, did it all around stop. Hey, hey, I want a Johnny takeaway. Hey, hey, woo, woo, woo. Hey, hey, I want a Johnny takeaway. Hey, hey, woo, woo, woo.
He didn't want a Chinese takeaway, but I didn't have a song about
Not wanting
chicken
a
tikka masala or not wanting a Chinese takeaway.
Oh, I could have got you a song.
That's our ending anyway. I'm sure you could. But yeah, David Edgar. Always liked David. I thought David Edgar may possibly end up in the Canadian PL.
He vehemently denied that when you told him.
Yes.
I think later on.
Down the
he wants
road,
to
yeah,
be
for
there.
sure.
But as Zach just told me during that, apparently he's on trial just now with Sunderland.
Yeah, I heard that he was.
Third tier now in England beside
But it is
AFC Wimbledon.
awkward with his Magpie history.
Yeah, ex-Newcastle lad going back to Sunderland, but he loves it over there. But that's maybe an interesting one. But we'll just finish this section off with a little bit of Canadian Premier League chat. All the teams announced their first signed players this week. Quite a few Whitecaps connections in amongst them.
3?
Was it 3? I was trying to
Definitely
work out
2.
exactly how many.
3.
Yeah.
No, there's
Yeah,
3
there's
for
3.
sure.
I
Yeah,
had
there's
2
3 for
and I
sure.
thought it felt like more.
No, there's 3 for sure.
There's 3 for sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, we'll come to them.
Okay.
Not exactly unsurprising, really, by the kind of quality that it is, but I think it's the level I kind of expected. Victoria's Pacific FC signed Caden Chung. He had been over in Germany with Kaiserslautern 2. He was meant to be coming to play at UBC this college season, but then at the last kind of minute, he decided to go and train with TFC2. And I believe there was kind of dangling a carrot that he could go and have pre-season with the first team there. But he has been training with a number of other guys 4 or 5 days a week with Pacific FC, so makes sense that he is a guy that they signed, and it's a local lad.
Yeah.
Good signing.
Yeah, for sure. And I still think he could be, like, I wish the Whitecaps would still go after him, but maybe that ship is
He's too
sailed.
small for MLS.
I don't think so. I think he's like, what? He's growing.
He needs to bulk up.
The last time I saw him in the Pacific advertising, he's much bigger than he was before. So, you have to grow with these guys too. You got to help them grow. You can't expect them to just do it on their own.
Yeah, he got barged off the ball a lot in USL. Like, just muscled out.
That's your opinion.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what his time in what is like 4th Division Germany or whatever has done for him. But I think it's a positive signing for them in terms of a BC player and someone who, although he is primarily a right back, is someone who likes to attack. And so hopefully,
I hope he does well. I like Caden.
I do hope that he gets a good shout.
Well, his brother Logan is still in the residency. Cavalry FC signed former Canadian international Nick Ledgerwood and former TFC homegrown signing, the Colombian-born midfielder Sergio Camargo. Not big surprises because both were with Foothills last year that won the PDL Championship. And I have been kind of told that to maybe expect around 8 of that team to end up on the Cavalry roster this year.
Yeah, I think it's not hard to guess some of them.
Ledgerwood adds experience, which you kind of want.
I'm surprised Carducci wasn't one of their first signings, considering like he was almost the face of the team before they became.
Yeah,
he was PDL Keeper of the Year too.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
he's going to be one of them. Yeah,
I know he will be. But they were always like kind of banding him about him being.
But you need I don't know about Camargo so much, but you need a Ledgerwood for that.
For sure. Yeah, you need.
Why not have
every team
Ledgerwood,
needs one of
the
these.
older one, and then Carducci the younger one? I think that would have been ideal.
Camargo's 24 now.
He's more attacking though, right?
Yeah.
Oh, he's young for a Whitecap.
He looked good in PDL, but he used to be a decent prospect, but he's never quite made the grade. This is going to probably be his last chance to either live up to what folk were expecting from him, or that's basically going to be it.
He's like an attacking midfielder, right? Yeah.
He's got goals and, FC Edmonton, they went with Randy Edwini Bonsu.
R-E-B.
Randy, I really...
Speaking of the PDL last year, remember we were talking about PDL?
Yeah.
He was a dynamic force in that.
Oh yeah, when he was when he was playing residency in PDL, yeah. Randy is an awesome dude. I mean, he also played USL in 2010 2010 Whitecaps. He scored the only goal against.
We had our songs and everything for him.
Edwini Bonsu. Yeah, but Randy's just a quality dude. Like he's one of the
Edmonton.
He's one of the guys from that era I've kept in touch with because he's such a quality dude.
His family emigrated from Ghana to Edmonton in 2002. He's 28 now, which I was kind of surprised by, but thinking about it makes sense, obviously. 10 national team caps. Played in Germany, not at the high level,
but he started off in Finland in Europe, where he really did well.
He tore it up. Yeah. The thing was how he got on in Germany is he went to Eintracht Braunschweig and he was on a trial and played in a friendly against Werder Bremen, and they won 2-0 and he scored a brace, and they signed him right away. But then they got promoted to the Bundesliga, and then he didn't get time, and then he made his way down the pyramid. And he played for some interesting clubs, including the well-known Stuttgart Kickers, which I think when he was there, maybe we were 3rd division, but they've had players come through like Klinsmann and I think Freddie Bobic, I think also played there, and he's played at some interesting places.
As for the rest, Eddie's also signed Alan Zebi. Valor took Skylar Thomas.
The former TFC player.
Forge FC went with Kyle Becker.
Yep.
And Chris Nanko.
That's because they're former Sigma players, right? And the coach of Sigma is...
Okay. Becker also was with San Francisco when MDS won the title, right?
Yeah.
York 9 had Kyle Porter.
Former Whitecap.
Halifax went for Zachary Secunda, who I don't know anything about.
No, I never heard of him.
Now, they're good signings. They've got experience. Playing a little bit of devil's advocate or poking, just to put a question out there. Are these the kind of higher end of the players that we should be expecting in the league? And if so, is that a high level? Are some of these guys maybe players whose best days, don't want to say behind them, but they've maybe not...
But these, remember, the whole point of the CPL is Canadians first. Now, if you're going to sign players... You got to make the first players. You got to make sure they're Canadians.
So do you expect to see higher quality than that?
I would see. I'd say at least one per team will be a little bit higher than this, maybe at the best, but not as many. Maybe 1 or 2.
The interesting thing about these inaugural guys here is there's a spectrum there, man. You go from a 20-year-old Chung to a Nick Ledgerwood.
Yeah.
And then you got someone sort of in the prime-ish years of his career like Kyle Becker. So you kind of have the whole range in there, right? And Steve's right. One of the reasons why these are the inaugural signings is because they're Canadian. There are players to come who, for better or for worse, are international players.
Yes.
Like one of the I'll say this here. I'll say this in little detail here. This is not hard. This is not rocket science to figure out if you Google a few things. But some people have been hinting at one of York 9's signings, and York 9 is the 9 regions that make up York Region. A part of that is Woodbridge Vaughan, which is a significant Italian community, and so I think you'll see some Italian influence with credible history. Let's just say. But
Paolo Rossi's coming out of retirement, or is it Dino Zoff?
I thought it was Andre Pirlo.
I'm just hearing that from people, and people were hinting at that in other places. But so we'll see if that comes to fruition.
Is Mass going to move to York?
No.
Well, let's see what other announcements come. I'm sure they're going to have a lot more announcements coming regularly, especially maybe in the build-up to Christmas, get some of those season ticket packages sold for Christmas. But we'll be back with the last part of this week's show after this.
Hey, I'm Brett Levis, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
California.
Vancouver band said the whale there with Cascadia. But with the success of all the Cascadia teams in the MLS Cup, I'm saying all, yes. All the Cascadia teams in the
4
MLS
years in
Cup,
a row.
yeah. Do you think that's going to boost the independence movement? Like when Scotland do well, the S&P get a big boost?
I don't think so. I don't think, yeah.
Nah, well, that's a shame. Anyway, you are back listening to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio, 101.9 FM. Now, it's time for my favourite part of the show.
It's time for the business.
It is. Literally. I'm going to do the business now. We're continuing our songs about footballers. We've had them the last few weeks. So we've had songs about a Scottish player, a Welsh player, an English player, an Irish player. So I thought, let's go for an Argentine player, Maradona. And this song's got swearing. If you class the word shit as swearing, which I don't. It's just part of Scottish vocabulary. I says beep. But
he actually, Maradona had an interesting. I saw it on a one of the ESPN shows. They were talking about his interview. He had an interview with somebody, and
it was on part during the Copa.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but it was in Spanish and everything. But the whole thing was the reaction of the people interviewing him. Their facial reactions was because they were like they were puzzled at what he was talking about, and he was just talking in this drowned out voice, like, "Oh my god!"
I still loved at the World Cup. I can't remember who it was they were playing, but it was gesticulating.
Yeah,
it was Nigeria.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Good old Maradona. English folk don't like him.
They had to do a press release to say he wasn't dead from a cocaine overdose during the World Cup. Remember that?
No,
they thought like they had a picture of him passed out or something like that, and they thought he had people were speculating he had a heart attack, so they had to do his press release to make sure nobody thought that, and they were saying he was fine.
I love Maradona, mainly from the '86 World Cup. We still sing about it. You put your left hand in, your left hand out, do the hokey cokey, or do the Maradona as we sang. But this is English punk band The Business, Maradona.
Sniffed, you wanted more. Now you only scored an all. All supplied by the end of gold. Out of cup, that's the way it goes. Shouldn't have made a bucket of Charlie up your nose. All supplied by the end of gold. Maradona, you're shit. Maradona, you're shit. We waited 8 years for your comeuppance. Now we know you weren't world tuppence. All supplied by the end of gold. Every little leg's fat little head. You won't take 30 oars in your bed. All supplied by the end of gold. Maradona, you're shit. Maradona, you're shit. For your God's laws, while all the time you were shagging yours, all supplied by the end of gods. Crocodile tears in a commentary box, wasn't because you lost or been given the pox. All supplied by the end of gods. Maradona, you're shit. 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 Maradona, you're shit.
the business there. They're not big fans of Diego Maradona.
Well, yeah, well, I didn't know that. Obviously, it was an English band, right?
I
guess if it was a Scottish band, it would have been different.
Yeah. That's from their 1994 Keep the Faith album. You can also find it on their 2003 album, Hardcore Hooligan. We featured the business quite a few times in Wavelength, and they have so many football songs. Most of them will feature in Football Violence Awareness Month, but not all of them. And we'll be back with a song about another player next week, which is a lot more melodic and nice. But now, it's time for Steve's favourite part of the show. He gets to do all the talking. It's BC Soccer Web Headlines.
Well, I wouldn't say favorite part of the show, but it's the one
You've
where...
just broke Bill Curry's heart.
Oh, sorry.
Anyway.
Sorry, Bill.
BC Soccer Web Headlines is brought to you in partnership with bcsoccerweb.com, your one-stop site for local, national and international news and links. Make it part of your everyday routine and listen or read bcsoccerweb.com morning, noon or night. What was catching your eyes on the site this week, Steve?
Yeah, I don't think you can listen. I don't think it has audio options for BC.
I put it on my computer to read it out.
Okay, cool. Okay, so a couple of follow-ups. Obviously, the big story last week was the Copa Libertadores.
Just get my seat fixed.
Okay, sure. So the final, the second leg of the final will be played in Madrid.
I was hoping for BC Place.
Okay, wait.
On December 9th.
Okay. I heard yesterday that it might not actually play because River's saying they won't play there.
Well, then they might forfeit then. They
Don't
mentioned
throw things at the opposing team's bus.
The club didn't throw anything at the bus.
Actually,
it wasn't in the ground.
That is the annoying thing. There was like 70,000 people in the stadium, and there's a handful of idiots outside, and then everyone gets punished because of that.
Yeah,
it is a bit crap.
Well, the thing is,
maybe you want to take the conspiracy further. Maybe they drove that bus with easily to breaking windows, and they dressed up their fans in river. No, I'm joking.
Maybe the police were actually Boca substitutes.
Mm-hmm.
They gassed their own players.
Yeah,
they should have done the same. They should have done
like Stephen here when he's had too much stuff.
No, come on. I don't think that's ever happened.
Mm-hmm.
We never know. It is right now tied 2-2. So River has the advantage on away goals.
No, there's no away goals.
There's no away goals. We just learned that right now.
No,
Breaking news.
I was told that the day I went to go watch it.
They were going to play it initially in Qatar.
Yeah,
which is Qatar.
Where's
the FIFA World Cup?
Qatar.
So they're going to play it somewhere near Qatar then.
Morocco then.
Yeah.
River was also fined $400,000, and they have been ordered their next two matches. CONMEBOL matches to be played behind closed doors. So if they do decide to play at River with this punishment, there'll be nobody in the stands apparently.
Oh,
because that would count as one of the two games, right?
Well, that would make sense.
Yeah. So interesting to see if they refuse to play. Maybe there's some negotiations. Maybe they can play.
Absolute mess.
I just heard that, by the way. I didn't read it.
Yeah.
Someone just messaged me and said they heard the game might be off on the 9th.
Spanish League, another issue with moving a game somewhere.
Yeah.
The Spanish League is suing the Soccer Federation, the Spanish Soccer Federation, over that match in the U.S. that we talked about a while ago. It's between Barcelona and Girona in January. I think they're playing in Miami. And the decision for the actual lawsuit is going to be expected in a couple weeks because they kind of got to deal with it because the game's coming up in January.
The match was to be played in Miami, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they were going to fly the fans over, especially the Girona fans. I think there was some kind of deal with them where they were going to get.
Yeah, it was something for season ticket holders.
And they were going to get discounts on their next year's tickets and stuff like that. It was actually a kind of a windfall for them if you think of it.
Girona, if I'm not wrong, is a part of the City Football Group, I believe. It's their Spanish team.
Is it?
I think so.
Cool. Some new news around the world. Robbie Keane has officially retired from football and has been named the Ireland assistant coach. He will join Mick McCarthy on the national team, who I think is going to be coaching until the Euros, and they've already got his replacement all set up and ready to go. I can't remember his name. It was in a different article. But Robbie Keane is officially part of the Ireland coaching staff. Do you think the only thing that would haunt him is if Russell Teibert was on the opposing coaching staff, because that would have irritated him out. Because he was always irritated by Russell Teibert, right?
Yeah,
it was always in his back pocket.
He always had a really good game against him.
you talked about it last week, the Dortmund bus attack.
Yeah, I guess I got it wrong. I thought they played it that day. They
played the next day. But the suspect, or the person who set the bomb, because he kind of admitted that he didn't set the bomb, he meant not to hurt anybody. But they have a German court on Tuesday convicted Sergej W. They don't announce apparently the last name because of privacy reasons, of 28 counts of attempted murder in last year's attack on the Dortmund bus. And sentenced him to 14 years in prison. It was an 11th month trial. The prosecutors alleged that he took out a loan to place a bet that Dortmund's value would drop, and then he bombed the bus trying to disguise it as Islamic terrorism. Dortmund is the only one that gets publicly traded, I think, and that's why it was to lower their values. That was essentially what it was. The bombing happened as Dortmund set off for the Champions League match against Monaco. It was rescheduled for the next day. They lost 3-2 to Monaco. But at least a kind of a closure there for that whole ordeal that happened last year.
Yeah.
Cameroon has been stripped of hosting the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations. The governing body has said that it's because of delays in the progress of Cameroon's preparation of the tournament that was due to start in June. And the organization has said a number of compliance conditions have not been met, and it did not want to expose the Africa Cup of Nations to any issues that would impact on the success of the most prestigious African competition.
And this is the first time they've shifted it to June, because it used to be in January.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
I think it might be the first one.
Yeah.
Do you remember that, Michael?
Mm-hmm. It's usually in January, right?
Mm-hmm. Sorry, my mouth was full.
Oh, sorry. So yeah, that was it was also, there was some kind of issue with violence too, that there was unsafe in that area due to warring factions. Next story, a footballer alive and well despite the Irish Amateurs Club report of his death.
Yeah,
this was a story that came out.
hilarious.
I saw this on Twitter. An amateur football team from Dublin basically reported that one of their players had died. It was Ballybrack FC. They informed the Leinster Senior League side that Fernando Nuno Lafuente had been killed in a motorcycle accident. The game against Arkolo Town on Saturday was postponed, with a minute's silence held before all the other league's fixtures. Apparently, the league didn't kind of buy it because they dug a little deeper and they found that he'd gone back to Spain 4 weeks earlier.
Yes.
And was alive and well. The player actually said himself, as soon as I heard the news, I wrote to them. They got straight back to me and told me that what was going on, and they apologized. I had to call my mom straight away, and she basically didn't know anything. She saw this morning, my photo was on all the newspapers. I haven't spoken to her yet because she didn't answer any of the message I sent. So that's kind of really bad there.
It's really, they've apologised, and it makes it sound like they wanted the game off, so they just came up with this thing.
Apparently, the
the
member of the senior staff that reported it to the league has been let go.
Yeah,
or resigned or something like that. So, odd story there. Now it gets a little odder in the next story.
Yes, this is one I tweeted out. I love this.
So when it was learned that Lewis Kears would be leaving the club, normally they wish him well in a tweet. So
yeah.
Nursery NFC.
It's just an amateur team.
Yeah, they sent out a tweet, and Michael, you want to read it out for you?
Yeah, so this is an amateur team in England. I can't remember exactly where it is off the top of my head, but they said, as a club, we'd like to wish Lewis Kears all the best as he parts ways with the Nursery Inn. The young centre-back has been sentenced to 18 months in a youth offenders institution for attempted robbery. We wish him all the best, and hope he comes out of this less of a fucking idiot. Tweet of the year.
But they also followed it up.
Sense. Yeah, which I didn't know until you put this on it. So they followed it up by changing his profile on the website. Number 12, Lewis Kears, position centre-back stroke behind bars. About to go on loan to Her Majesty's Prison Frankland. The young centre-back has been Kears, that's a pun, to Nursery since they formed in 2016. He has bailed us out many times. Shame we can't bail him out. We'll miss him when he goes to prison.
And they had a picture in that tweet as well.
That's some good.
That's
some good prison humor right there.
Oh, the Whitecaps need to learn from this.
So interesting to see that's obviously done and dusted with them. I don't think he'll be returning to the club. I think that was just tongue in cheek.
I don't know. It might turn his life around.
Yeah. Some North American soccer news. Some MLS transactions that we didn't talk about earlier. David Villa will not be returning to New York City FC.
No, but he is coming to a camp in Vancouver.
Oh, is he?
Actually, might have been this weekend. This weekend or next weekend.
Is he actually coming?
Yeah, he's special meet and greet at BC Place.
So, but he is rumored.
BC Place?
Mm-hmm. That's where they're having the camp.
What?
Yeah.
That's not a cheap
It's
place.
$70 plus. for the
Yeah, that's a
camp or
big
something.
wigs probably.
That's it?
Yeah.
Oh no! Well, they're gonna have.
You gonna go?
No, I'm not going to go.
They're probably going to have 1,000 people showing up.
Get the wee man out.
Yeah, no.
He is not going to be signing with anybody else in MLS, but he is rumored to be going to Japan.
Yes.
I think there's a couple of former teammates in Japan that are playing there right now.
Yeah, he'll get.
He'll go play with Poldi and Iniesta.
Yeah. Fire have re-signed Bastian Schweinsteiger to another year.
Friend of the show.
Yeah.
Put up your hand if you're surprised by that a little bit.
I am, yeah.
Steve is not.
Oh, sorry.
Steve, okay.
As a designated player, so he still has one more year chance to win the World Cup with the Fire.
Yes. won't be here next year, though, so we don't get him on the show again.
Oh, you might go to Chicago. You
the
never know.
banter me and him had that thing, yeah.
The shirt you wore.
At least he asked where I was from. Probably to report me.
Some news that Landon Donovan would find interesting. Home from home, Mexico agreed to a 4-year deal to play in Dallas Cowboys AT&T Stadium. It's basically going to be their home stadium in America, which is kind of weird.
Just at least one game a year, though.
Yeah, at least one game a year. They have played there 7 times since 2009. I think that's when the stadium opened. They have a 5-1-1 record there. And obviously that was mostly because of the mass population of Mexicans.
Oh, yeah. Also, they're better at building walls.
This next story, why did you put it under the Canadian section?
Because it kind of affects Alphonso Davies.
Okay.
There was an article that said...
this reminds me of I don't know, the Whitecaps selling Bayern jerseys in their fan shop.
Yes, I saw Manuel Veth.
Apparently they're at the Gastown. Did you know they're... I did not know they're at the Gastown store.
That out, yeah.
That's...
So I told you China, 1495.
Oh, it's so embarrassing.
So some news from Germany. Arjen Robben announces his Bayern career is coming to a close, and Ribery also likely to leave. His quote was, "This is my last year in FC Bayern. It's been 10 wonderful years, and then that's good."
That quote is from... That's Robin.
Yeah, that's Robin's quote. Yeah, Ribery, he left the last game injured or something. He left with an injury. So, and they're talking about that prior to the season. He had also kind of been told that, or let them know that he was not going to be coming back after this year. So good news for a couple open spots for Alfonso.
Yeah,
up the depth chart.
We were going to maybe finish with the Player of the Year nomination. So just before we get to them, let's mention the Canadian Women's Under-17.
Yes, disappointing week for them.
Yeah, finished 4th overall, but did reach the semi-finals for the first time, which was a great achievement.
They kind of played, for me, against Mexico, they kind of played a little too tight. They didn't play the way they normally play. Played like freer in the other games.
They're just young girls.
Obviously, the Spain game was the one that was the one where they had a lot of players that were not part of the first team kind of thing. So they did a lot of stuff. But the other games, they're out there. They had possession. They were playing along the deck. This one, they kind of reverted back to bad form, old habits.
The semifinal was extremely disappointing.
Yeah,
like they had the goal called back, which I felt was a little harsh.
Yeah.
A little bit. No, did you see where the?
Yeah, no. I agree with you, and like you don't want to be critical of the girls, and they have had a lot of abuse online.
No.
But that was a shocking penalty to give up. You have to say that.
Oh no, it was a clear penalty, but I also thought
it was also a shocking.
I think Marcel Young's was worse than
that was a stone cold penalty. But I felt before that. Herdman got taken down. Jordan got taken down, and it also should have been a penalty.
She just didn't get calls in a lot of these games.
She got
penalized for stuff.
I think she got like the whole thing about being I think it was a little bit of Kendall Waston kind of thing because she's bigger than everybody else. That they didn't give her enough.
Did you guys see where she got taken down in the box? Yeah,
we're agreeing with you.
That and the goal called back were extremely disappointing.
But I do think that they kind of the moment kind of got to them. Maybe, and they just it kind of was too big of a moment. Maybe I'm not sure. I don't know how to. But one thing I do want to mention is I know you said we don't want to criticize them. Some of the criticism was way too harsh. They are.
I did not see the online criticism. Was it really that bad?
Yeah. It wasn't harsh. Yeah. It wasn't harsh where it was the typical harsh, like where it was like, oh, these guys are horrible and this and that. Well, I didn't notice that one. I don't know if you saw that or not.
Because they're not.
But it was just overly because they're 16-year-old girls. They're playing the first time internationally. Give them a little bit of break. They actually made it to the semifinals.
Like, what were they criticizing the girl?
The girl who gave away the penalty, she got a lot of abuse.
Yeah, see, there's no need for that because they
I
are
apologize,
still learning the
I
game.
can't remember her name right now, but
Antoine, I want to say.
I don't think we need to even remember her name. Let's just leave it at that. No, I mean, just
Yeah.
for her sake. Why do we even need to mention names?
She didn't have a great third place match either. Anyway.
Yeah.
But I would say, though, it is fair to criticise, but you just have to temper it.
Yes.
Because it's like, a lot of the time in the past, the women's team didn't like the criticism they got.
Yeah.
But it's like...
But that's the women's team. I'm
Yeah.
talking about U17.
I know, but I'm just
Yeah,
saying, it's
yeah.
like a lot of folk feel you can't criticise the female players, which is bullshit.
No,
'Cause it's
no.
like, if you want to hold yourself up as equals to the men, you take the criticism that the men would get as well.
Yeah.
So it's not to do with that.
But
It's
for
the
me-
fact that these are young.
Yeah.
Even if it was under 17 boys as well, you've got to give them a break.
we've criticized the youth men's team.
Yeah.
No, but I think that's harsh. I think that even
Yeah.
the U20's criticism was a little too harsh.
But at the same time, you still have to criticise, otherwise you don't grow or develop.
You criticize in a constructive
Yes.
way instead of being like foul mouth.
Like you said, Michael. The thing is, this ultimately, despite these last two games, this was a great accomplishment. Or it was
Fantastic
they
achievement by Riri and the girls.
They did their best ever. The U17s, right? So
we're gonna, last bit of news we have here is we're going to mention some of the nominees
Yes.
for Canadian national players. I'm going to first start with the youth players.
I've not sent mine in yet.
Yeah, I'm going to start off with the youth players. Just we don't get to vote on that one, unfortunately. But I'm going to mention some guys. Some of the players for and they actually now done like where they combine all the youth players instead of just doing in U20 and U17. Some of the youth men that have been nominated: Busti, Alessandro Busti from Juventus. U23's Cornelius, who made his debut with the national team.
Jonathan
David, who's done really well. Liam Miller. So those some of the.
Yeah,
I'm
I think
surprised
David will get it.
I don't understand why Alphonso Davies wasn't nominated in the U20s, like in the youth. Why can't he be double nominated? I don't understand that part.
well, he's going to win the senior player of the year.
Well, we'll see.
No, he's going to.
Well, because like Jordan Heitema's not in youth and the adult women either. Whereas if she was in the adult women, I would have voted her for adult women.
Yeah.
So you must only be able to get one
A year,
category.
yeah.
But Liam Miller is in both.
Oh well, that's completely blown that theory out the water. then.
he is.
So okay, so some of the women.
That's odd.
Maybe it's matches played, number of matches played in that age. I don't know.
Some of the women actually, these are some of the Whitecaps girls that were nominated in the youth were Julia Grosso, Jordan Huntema, obviously. I think she's probably going to win.
Yeah, Jordan will win that.
And Anderson Williams and she had a nice spotlight actually on FIFA. Her and her dad. If you can check it out, that would be great.
Jonathan David and Jordan Heitema for me.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The women on the women's side, you got obviously Janine Becky, Kadisha Buchanan, who could be the favorite because obviously they won the Champions League too. Jessie Fleming, Stephanie Labe, Ashley Lawrence, Chapman, Prince. I think they nominate too many people. They should cut it down to like 4 or 5. Prince, Quinn, Schmidt, Desiree Scott, Christine Sinclair, and Shalina Zardarsky.
Do you think they're just going to give it to Sinclair again?
I hope not.
'Cause she's got a number.
I'm worried
where
that
She's nominated for the Ballon d'Or as well.
I'm worried that the people that don't watch that much, the media, and they'll just put Sinclair
It should
on
be
top.
Kadisha.
Yeah. I think it is because she did quite a bit this
I
year.
agree with you. It would be a good year for Kadisha to get it.
The men, you got Michael's favorite, Scott Arfield.
Yep, he's got my vote. You don't need to go on in the list. Anyway, that was it. This was show.
Milan Borjan, Lucas Cavallini, who did really well in Mexico this year and is still doing well. Jonathan David, double nominee.
Oh
yeah. Alphonso Davies, who obviously,
single nominee.
Clearly, he's over 20 now. Junior Hoylett, Atiba Hutchinson, Kyle Larin, Liam Miller, again double nominee. Jonathan Osorio, Samuel Piet, and Balu Tabla.
He's just nominated because it's like that's part of his deal for.
But
joining
he's young
the team.
too. He could easily be nominated.
Okay.
It's so weird that
That
they
is
nominate
weird.
someone.
So aside from Davies and maybe Jonathan David, because you know his rising star has really kind of come recently, right? Who else? If it wasn't for those two, who else would you see as being?
I like I said, Cavallini had a really good year in Pueblo, in the Mexican leagues.
I know his team was awful this year.
Yeah, but he scored.
No.
Thibaut Hutchinson always has to be up there because he does play a major role in a team that plays in Champions League.
What do you guys think? I'm going to give you another person, Steve. I wasn't talking about Lucas. Osorio.
Yeah, Osorio would be up there too.
Osorio, his team was not good,
He
but
had
he had an incredible year.
Yeah.
He's second behind Arfield for me. I am genuinely voting for Scott Arfield.
You're not voting for Davies.
No.
20. He was involved in 20 goals.
I'll maybe make him
20 goals for his club team, and how many more?
Okay, he can be.
I don't even know how he gets a vote.
They don't look at my passport.
Okay.
Or maybe they think I am Canadian. I don't know. Because I'm Canadian, just like Scott Arfield.
It's true.
Yeah. Anyway, that is it for this week's show. Hope you've enjoyed it. We've overrun. Another end of season show where we overran. But just before we do go, let everyone know where they can find you online, Mr. Zachary and Mr. Steve.
You can find me at Whitecap Speed, and the reason we overran was Maxime Crepeau, clearly.
For me, it's at Zachary AM on Twitter. I'm a part of the Movement Curva Collective. However, I also want to just encourage people to get out to the Southsiders AGM this Saturday and
sing a song for us.
Sing a song, but also just engage in discussion about where that Vancouver supporter group is headed.
I'm Michael McCaw. You can find me on Twitter at AFTN Canada, on Instagram at AFTN Soccer, on Facebook at AFTN Canada, and new to our stuff on the website, aftn.ca. That is it for this week's show. We'll be back with a lot more chat next week. Thanks for bearing with us, and until then, thanks for listening. Take care, and mon the Caps!
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.